Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The 9 reincarnations are unleashed, and the sickly villain Heroine arrives. Chapter 81. Zuo Shu's face was pale, and her whole body was eroded by the sword energy, tearing out several blood stains. But those eyes that turned scarlet showed no intention of retreating. His face flushed, and the ghostly figure rushed forward again. From beginning to end, Zuo Shu's sword was always pointed at Hu Baibai. Kill her and get your senior brother back. Senior brother can only be mine. The crazy roar in her heart continued to strengthen the murderous intention of Sauvignon Blanc in Zuo Shu's hand. This biting chill, like the dark night of winter, bloomed with murderous intent in the sky. Shen Shucho's state has reached an unprecedented peak at this moment, although his realm is only the Golden Core realm. But the sword intent that burst out could stabilize the Yuanying realm, but Shen Shucho could not last long in this state. Song Yuhuan was already seriously injured after blocking the palm, but now he was forced to activate the 7 flying swords, which took a huge toll on Shen Shucho. Song Yuhuan was naturally aware of this, and with a grin on his lips, he also stepped into the battlefield. But at this moment, a gorgeous red shadow stood in front of him. I don't have time to play with you now, get out of here. Song Yuhuan stared gloomily at Yu Lingwan in front of him. It seems that you so-called righteous sects are not that good either. 2 nascent soul realm bullies 1 Jindan realm, they really don't have any face at all. Sister, I can't stand your behavior. Why don't you let me play with you? Yu Lingwan smiled coquettishly. Song Yuhuan's face was furious, and he immediately slapped a palm, fighting with Yu Lingwan instantly. The entire battlefield was instantly divided, and terrifying power exploded within it. The mountain walls on both sides collapsed, and large rocks fell down. The deafening power created here also attracted many figures to come. On the other side, Zuo Shu was repelled time and again by Shen Shucho's sword intent. But every time, Zuo Shu would fight forward without hesitation with her sword. Even if she was injured by Shen Shucho's sword, she seemed to be unaware of the pain. The terrifying aura grew stronger and stronger, and the sword intent rising into the sky contained the power of destruction. On the other hand, Shen Shucho's powerful sword spirit became weaker with every attack from Zuo Shu. The energy in his body was about to be exhausted, and the ultimate feeling of weakness swept through his body again. Zuo Shu, stop it. Don't force me to kill you. Shen Shucho looked solemnly at Zuo Shu, whose body was stained red with blood. On one side is Hu Baibai, the villain heroine of this world, and on the other is his junior sister. Senior brother, you won't last long. When I kill her, you will come back to me. Zuo Shu went crazy as if she was possessed by a demon, and the Sauvignon Blanc attack in her hand became even more fierce. In the blink of an eye, another terrifying sword energy, like a rainbow piercing the sun, ripped through the sky and slashed down. Shen Shucho raised his eyes and looked at the sword energy sky net covering the sky, sighing heavily in his heart. He couldn't block this blow, and looked at the demon-like bloody figure pointing at Hu Baibai. Shen Shucho did not hesitate, exhausted the last bit of his energy, and instantly blocked his entire body in front of the bloody sword. Zuo Shu's expression was frantic and filled with intense excitement. She saw the long sword piercing through the fox monster who had taken away her senior brother. It was also the inner demon in her heart. She had been waiting for this moment for 5 years. Finally, on this day, I will slay my inner demons. Just when Zuo Shu thought she would succeed this time, a familiar figure stood in front of her. Zuo Shu's expression suddenly changed, and her eyes became extremely frightened. Brother, get out of the way. Zuo Shu yelled in panic. When Shen Shucho looked at the bloody sword light so close to him, there was no trace of fear on his face, but instead he felt a sense of relief. Consider this what I owe you. If you ever meet me in the next life, don't meet me again. Shen Shucho smiled slightly. No, do not want. Zuo Shu Jiaorong was completely panicked, and she could no longer hold back the sword. Next moment, a long sword instantly penetrated Shen Shucho's body. Red blood flowed down the sword body, and Shen Shucho's body fell to the ground like a candle in the wind. The vitality flowed away along the shocking blood mark at this moment, and the Sauvignon Blanc fell to the ground along with Shen Shucho's body. The sharp sword energy shattered Shen Shucho's meridians and limbs in an instant. Owner, her fox-white face was pale, and her normally lively eyes were blurred by tears. The petite and exquisite body fell into Shen Shucho's arms, and a pair of small hands touched the face with trembling hands. Looking at the sharp sword passing through, Hu Baibai's mind went blank. Master, don't die, don't leave Baibai behind. Hu Baibai's tears couldn't stop falling. Without me, Baibai will have to be good from now on. Shen Shucho raised his hand with difficulty and gently wiped away Hu Baibai's tears as before. No, I don't want my master to die for nothing. Hu Baibai cried and shed tears. A pair of small hands kept pressing Shen Shuchu's chest, as if they wanted to make him feel better in this way. The sadness seemed like a big hand, grabbing Hu Baibai's heart tightly, as if he would be suffocated in the next second. Lying on Shen Shucho's increasingly cold body, tears continued to drip from the corners of her clear eyes. Blood and tears intertwined to form a poignant picture. The fox white eyes were filled with endless sadness and despair, and a weak sob came from his throat, which was an expression of the pain and sadness deep in his heart. Seeing Hu Baibai crying into tears, Shen Shucho's eyes were full of heartache. The same was true for Zhang Qianzhou in the previous life. Shen Shucho deeply understood how important he was in the hearts of these heroines. Shen Shucho sincerely hopes that these heroines can live a happy life, but their fate is like a shackle that firmly locks them. The same goes for Shen Shucho. He had to do this, so he came even though he knew he might die if he came to Yuri Sun Valley. Death is not the end for Shen Shucho, but the beginning of another life. Zuo Shu looked at Shen Shucho, who was penetrated by Sauvignon Blanc, and was stunned for a moment. His pupils were dilated, his body was shaking uncontrollably, and his heart was beating wildly. All the strength in his body seemed to have been lost at this moment, and his lips trembled slightly. Brother! Zuo Shu's body suddenly lost strength, and instantly collapsed to the ground as if it had turned into a puddle of mud. Her mouth opened wide, but she could only let out a helpless cry, and tears instantly poured out like a flood that broke a dam. His entire face was instantly flooded, and his eyes were filled with incomparable despair and pain. It was as if the whole world collapsed at this moment. Her fingers clawed at the ground feebly, trying to find some support. But all in vain. Her body was completely unable to move, as if she had been knocked down by an invisible weight, losing all vitality and vitality. That sauce blanc was Zuo Shu's longing for Shen Shucho. She would whisper to Sauvignon Blanc almost every day and every night. All the longing for Shen Shucho and the love in his heart were transformed into the invisible sword and tension. But I never thought that when we meet again, this Sauvignon Blanc, which expresses Zuo Shu's longing and love, will be dedicated to Shen Chu in another way. I killed my senior brother. I killed senior brother. Zuo Shu fell to the ground in horror, muttering vaguely. Shen Shucho felt that his vision was gradually blurring. The tide of darkness was slowly submerging him, and his life was flowing away at a rapid pace. At the end of his life, Hu Baibai's heart-rending cries kept ringing in his ears. Tears wet Shen Shucho's face, and his wet hands were still shaking him. The familiar pretty face of the past has become unclear. The Hu Baibai who used to chew his master, who wants to kiss her every day, who clings to Shen Shucho every day, may no longer exist. Shen Shucho's dull eyes finally showed a hint of tenderness, and he raised his trembling palms, wanting to touch Hu Baibai again. But there was no strength left to support him, and his hands stopped moving in midair. At this moment, a pair of small hands grasped this big hand and placed their cold palms on the delicate face stained with tears. Master, woo, don't leave Baibai behind, okay. Baibai can't lose his master. Touching his fox-white face for the last time, Shen Shucho seemed to be satisfied. He could no longer hold back the sleepiness that swept over him, and his trembling eyelids gradually closed. No, don't want. Hu Baibai looked up to the sky and roared, calling Shen Shucho heartbreakingly. For Hu Baibai, although she is a demon clan, the emotions in her heart are full of Shen Shucho. Shen Shucho's companionship in the past 9 years was all she had after her parents. Hu Baibai couldn't imagine how dark the past days would be without Shen Shucho. The master who would let her be naughty and give her all his tenderness was now lying on the cold ground on the verge of death. Countless blood bloomed from the blood marks like poignant and beautiful blood flowers. She originally had a happy life, with someone she loved and a master who loved her. This was Hu Baibai's life, but the arrival of that woman 5 years ago planted a seed. Now this seed that had been dormant for 5 years finally sprouted on this day, and the sharp blade that grew out penetrated Shen Shucho. This sword also cut off Hu Baibai's heart full of revenge. In the huge falling sun valley, only Fox Baibai's shrill cries echoed. Kill her. Do you want revenge? Come and merge with me and kill her. Kill everyone and make everyone in the world fear you, Hu Baibai. At this moment, the familiar voice sounded again in Hu Baibai's heart. This voice seemed to be infected by Hu Baibai's emotions, and boundless killing intent arose. Hu Baibai turned his head, his eyes filled with hatred, staring at Zuo Shu. I am going to kill you. Hu Baibai said word by word. The next moment, a terrifying demonic aura emerged from Hu Baibai's body, and boundless murderous intent penetrated into the sky. Behind Hu Baibai, 8 demonic figures hidden in the sea of fire emerged, looking down at everyone with cold pupils. Being stared at by that cold gaze, Song Yuhuan was filled with fear and subconsciously fled from here. At this moment, he had a premonition that after today, another big demon would appear in the world. But after a while, Hu Baibai still didn't make a move, and Song Yuhuan breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that Hu Baibai only had overwhelming killing intent, but no substantive means of killing, and there was nothing he could do now. Song Yuhuan also knew that he could not let Hu Baibai go no matter what today, otherwise it would be uncomfortable to be targeted by a big demon in the future. Junior sister, don't be so stupid. Let's kill her together, otherwise we won't have a good life in the future. Song Yuhuan yelled at Zuo Shu, who was in a daze. Zuo Shu stayed in place like a zombie without any movement, the light in her eyes was swallowed up by the darkness. The hanging heart also died when Shen Shucho closed his eyes. When Song Yuhuan saw that Zuo Shu didn't move, he couldn't help scolding, you have already killed him, why do you need to act like this again? The most urgent thing is to kill the fox demon with me. Song Yuhuan's words were like a sharp sword that gave Zuo Shu another fatal blow. Zuo Shu's body was convulsing and shaking, and her expression became painful and crazy. Ha ha, I killed my senior brother, woo woo woo. Senior brother. Zuo Shu muttered to herself while crying and laughing, her cultivation became turbulent and like a madman. Song Yuhuan gritted his teeth and looked at the unconscious Zuo Shu, knowing that he could not count on her. His eyes were cold, murderous intent burst out, and he stared at the petite figure. Song Yuhuan didn't hesitate at all and immediately launched his strongest blow, preparing to kill Hu Bai in one fell swoop. If he doesn't kill her today, he will most likely die one day in the future. Kill, Song Yuhuan shouted loudly. The terrifying giant palm that covered the sky and the sun headed towards Hu Bai Gai. The fox white eyes were indifferent and numb, showing no intention of dodge. Just when Song Yuhuan thought he had succeeded, he saw a red figure leaping out of the sky in an instant from the corner of his eye. At this critical moment, Hu Bai and Bai Chen Shucho were promptly pulled out from where the giant palm fell. Boom! A large crater was suddenly blasted out of the ground by this terrifying force, and smoke and dust rose instantly. After a while, the smoke and dust dispersed, and there was no trace of the fox-white figure in the field. Looking at Yu Lingwan on the side, he also disappeared. Song Yuhuan suddenly raised his head and screamed, "Devil, I want you to die." He glanced back at Zuo Shu, who was still crazy, and chased forward without stopping. Soon after a few people left, monks from other sects also came here. Seeing this destructive scene and the weeping figure, everyone looked at each other and no one knew what was happening here. Yu Lingwan quickly shuttled through the fog with Hu Baibai and Shen Shucho. Stop crying, your master can still be saved, Yu Lingwan said. Hearing this, Hu Baibai's eyes suddenly lit up. Please save master, you can have anything you want, please. Hu Baibai was like a drowning man clinging to Yu Lingwan's life-saving straw. You, a little girl, can't give me what I want. Only your master can give it to me. Don't worry, no one under the emperor can save your master, but I, Yu Lingwan, can. Yu Lingwan showed strong confidence. Hu Baibai was stunned, the master could give it. But the owner doesn't have anything valuable. Feeling that the breath behind him was getting closer and closer, Yu Lingwan's expression suddenly changed. If we want to save your master, we have to find a way to get out of here first. There is only one way out of Falling Sun Valley, and that is the entrance, not to mention how many righteous and powerful people are waiting outside. Even with Song Yuhuan chasing behind him, Yulingwan was not sure of victory. And she still sneaked in, and walked out in such a big way. Her identity as a disciple of the evil sect would be torn into pieces, not to mention the evil Hu Bai Bai beside her. But running around in the falling sun valley is not an option now. Sooner or later, Song Yuhuan will catch up. What to do if you fall to the ground? If you are not careful, you may die on the way. Yulingwan didn't know whether it was right or wrong to take the risk to save Shen Shuqiu. Naturally, Yulingwan did not fall in love with Shen Shuqiu at first sight. She had only one purpose in saving Shen Shuqiu. That is to borrow his essence to have a child. Yulingwan was very curious about what kind of qualifications the baby would have if she had a child with such an extremely talented Shen Shuqiu. This is why Yulingwan is willing to risk her life to save Shen Shuqiu. She is such a curious baby. On the premise of giving birth to a child, Shen Shuqiu is at least a living person. Although it's not impossible to talk to someone who just died, it still feels a bit strange. The two of them were so angry that they had to face each other. Which, I must kill you. Song Yuhuan's face was full of murderous intent. The distance between the two was constantly shrinking. A cold murderous aura was approaching behind Yulingwan. What should I do? Yulingwan's face completely sank. There is the master's senior brother outside, he said he can help the master. Hu Bai Bai on the side suddenly remembered the man named Ji Yu Mo. Ah, Yulingwan's pretty face was stunned. She didn't expect Hu Bai Bai to give her this idea. She couldn't even beat Song Yuhuan. I'm afraid this senior brother would be ridiculously strong. Don't hesitate, believe me. Hu Bai Bai's little face was also anxious. She wanted her master to be resurrected and couldn't wait for a moment. Hu Bai Bai could feel that Ji Yu Mo's words, "Is there anything I can help you with?" were not false. Yulingwan's hesitant face became firm. That's it. Yulingwan also made the worst plan. If the senior brother wanted to keep her, Yulingwan also had a skill to escape alone. Soon Yulingwan turned around and rushed towards the entrance. Song Yuhuan behind him saw this and his face was happy. Which, you are really looking for death? There are senior brother Ji Yu Mo and others outside. Once Yulingwan goes out, she will not be able to escape. Soon, Yulingwan's figure flew out of the meteoric valley. He is there, go find him. Hu Bai Bai pointed at the figure on the cliff with his little hand. Yulingwan looked in the direction, and when he saw the figure clearly, his body trembled. His senior brother is Ji Yu Mo. Yulingwan smiled bitterly. Who is Ji Yu Mo? Almost everyone knows him. He is a feared killing god, so powerful that people of the same realm are terrified. He once crossed the border with the out-of-body realm to kill a famous evil spirit of the transformation realm. I didn't expect that such a person is Shen Shuqiu's senior brother, and I also know his identity in my heart. Why would Shen Shuqiu, who will definitely not be weaker than Ji Yu Mo in the future, leave Shengqing Dao sect? Is it really just for this fox demon beside him? Yulingwan guessed in his heart, but the figure still flew towards the place where Ji Yu Mo was. Ji Yu Mo, who was originally sitting on the rock, was suddenly awakened by the terrifying demonic aura emitted by Fox Bai Bai. He suddenly opened his eyes and saw a figure flying towards him. He subconsciously prepared to take action, but found that there was a familiar figure among them. Yulingwan landed in front of Ji Yu Mo, and there was still a trace of fear in her heart. The momentum he exuded was almost enough to overwhelm her. She secretly mobilized her true energy and was ready to use that move at any time. But fortunately, Ji Yu Mo did not take action. His terrifying eyes kept looking at Shen Shuqiu quietly. Ji Yu Mo's calm heart trembled violently when he saw Shen Shuqiu's lifeless body again. Who did it? Ji Yu Mo's voice was low and hoarse. The oppressive feeling of the sky falling bloomed on him, and the terrifying aura was like a turbulent wave. Yulingwan's pretty face turned pale, and Ji Yu Mo in front of him seemed to have walked out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood, and was shocked by this raging evil spirit. Woo woo woo, the master is dead. Fox Bai Bai cried loudly, and tears flowed out like a broken dam. I can save him, Yulingwan added quickly. Ji Yu Mo did not speak, and the evil spirit surged in his eyes. Brother, kill that fox demon quickly. She is a big demon. At this moment, Song Yuhuan rushed out, his face turned happy and he shouted at Ji Yu Mo. After hearing this, Ji Yumo understood everything in an instant. Then he looked at Yu Lingwan and said, "Really?" Yu Lingwan's heart was beating wildly under Ji Yumo's terrifying eyes, and she cheered up and said, "There is no one in the world that I can't save." "How?" Ji Yumo continued to ask. He wanted to make sure that Yu Lingwan could really save Shen Shucho, otherwise he would not let her go. Yu Lingwan's pretty face blushed. She looked around and then secretly transmitted a voice, "My jade girl body." Ji Yumo's eyes were slightly startled, and he looked at Yu Lingwan deeply. Yu Lingwan didn't dodge and just stared at each other. She couldn't be sure whether Ji Yumo would believe her words, but her jade girl body could indeed save Shen Shucho. "If you lie to me, I guarantee that no one in the Caesar Palace will survive." Ji Yumo said quietly. This was the longest sentence he said. "What does your killing of the Caesar Palace have to do with me?" Yu Lingwan complained in her heart when she heard it. "It is said that there is a heaven-defying physique, which, once used as a furnace, can increase lifespan and break through the shackles of cultivation. This physique has another use, which is to reverse yin and yang, life and death. But it can only be used once, and the person who possesses this physique must be a virgin." "Let's go." Ji Yumo retracted his gaze and said lightly. Just as Yu Lingwan thought in his heart, he could not guarantee that the other party would not deceive him, and now he could only take a gamble. Hearing this, Yu Lingwan breathed a sigh of relief and was about to leave with Hu Baibai. "You can't let her go, senior brother, she is a big demon." Song Yuhuan's body suddenly blocked in front of Yu Lingwan, looking at Hu Baibai with murderous eyes. "Make way." Ji Yumo glanced at him and said, "Senior brother, you are confused. She is a big demon." Song Yuhuan shouted anxiously, constantly mentioning Hu Baibai's identity as a big demon. But these words fell on Ji Yumo's ears and fell on deaf ears. Ji Yumo finally glanced at Song Yuhuan and said nothing, but that look seemed to explain everything. Song Yuhuan's heart trembled fiercely, and he gritted his teeth but left reluctantly. According to his understanding of Ji Yumo, he didn't like to repeat his words a second time, nor did he like to refuse him in any way. "Ji Yumo, you are committing a crime. I have already informed the master that the demon race must die." At this time, Kang Ranmu's voice said coldly. The moment Hu Baibai came out, all the practitioners on the cliff of Yunri Mountain were shocked by the terrifying demonic aura. After a period of time, it will definitely be another great demon that will bring disaster to the world. The figures of the crowd followed Kang Ranmu and instantly surrounded Yu Lingwan. Song Yuhuan, who was originally disappointed, was happy again. As long as Hu Baibai could be killed, it didn't matter who that person was. Yu Lingwan's body stopped again, and she kept smiling bitterly in her heart. This was another powerful figure, which made Yu Lingwan unable to raise the thought of resistance. When had she ever experienced such a scene? The murderous intent emanating from the surroundings was like a chain that trapped her tightly in it. In desperation, she had to look at Ji Yumo again. "No one can touch you if you leave." Ji Yumo's words hit Yu Lingwan's heart like a hammer. Only after getting Ji Yumo's guarantee did Yu Lingwan leave here quickly with Hu Baibai. "The demons must die." Kang Ranmu immediately intercepted them, but the next moment the breath of death surrounded them. A terrifying fist wind tore through the void and came towards her, and Kang Ranmu's face changed drastically and he dodged quickly. Looking at Ji Yumo who attacked her, Kang Ranmu said angrily, "Ji Yumo, you are looking for death. You dare to let the demons go. The world can't tolerate you. I have also notified the master. You just wait for punishment." Kang Ranmu scolded, and when Yu Lingwan was about to attack again before he was far away. The words that made her body cold rang in her ears again. "Before the master comes, you must die first under my 3 punches, and no one can save you during this period." Ji Yumo's cold voice seemed to crawl out of the cold prison. "You." Kang Ranmu's face was pale, and he still didn't choose to attack under the threat of death. Ji Yumo, who was so powerful that she was afraid, could really kill her with 3 punches. Without anyone else to intercept her, Yu Lingwan's figure gradually disappeared in the clouds. Before leaving, Hu Baibai deeply memorized the appearance of everyone present. Those who blocked her, Hu Baibai will come back one day in the future and throw everyone into endless purgatory. Hu Baibai ignited a raging flame. This fire had no end. He wanted to break out of the shackles, and use the hatred to burn everything. This fire is the fire in Hu Baibai's heart. The dead body was buried, and the dead body was buried. It was several days after Yu Lingwan successfully took Fox Baibai away from the Falling Sun Valley. The events here were not hidden from the major sects, and the Shengqing Dao sect was even condemned. The disciples of the sect actually raised monsters without authorization, which was not allowed to happen on the Silver Flow continent. Even several powerful people jointly started to deduce based on the monster energy left at the scene, but the results they got shocked everyone. This turned out to be a celestial fox monster. What is a celestial monster? It means that this kind of monster has an extremely fast cultivation speed and a rare talent. Once it develops, it will be the only enemy of the entire cultivation world. There has not been a celestial monster on the Silver Flow continent for thousands of years. For a time, the news that Hu Baibai was a demon fox spread throughout the world of immortal cultivation, and even in the mortal world, there were all kinds of gossip. Almost all the sects began to search for Hu Baibai on a large scale. Some were looking for the heavenly demon pill, while others simply wanted to kill a future heavenly demon in the cradle in advance. Even the demons heard about it, and even many thousand-year-old demons began to secretly look for Hu Baibai. Not only the immortals are greedy for the demon pill, but also the demons. How tempting is a future heavenly demon pill? Silver Flow continent, East region. A winding river runs through the Qingfeng Mountains. The surrounding area is covered by a large area of green forests, and various crisp cries are heard from time to time. In this surrounding valley, there is a small mountain village with few people. This is Yu Lingwan's hometown, but these houses are all covered with weeds and there is no sign of habitation. When are you going to save my master? In a room, Hu Baibai looked at Yu Lingwan in a red dress in front of her. Hu Baibai had to admit that Yu Lingwan in front of her was the most beautiful woman she had ever seen. That beautiful face was like a beautiful painting, exuding charming charm all the time. The black hair behind her shoulders was like a waterfall pouring down from the mountain stream on a quiet moonlit night. Under her willow leaf eyebrows were a pair of charming phoenix eyes, which were fascinating. The pink lips moved her heart with every frown and smile. Such a person who seemed to have walked out of a painting was out of place in the dusty room. Since leaving the Falling Sun Valley, Hu Baibai was brought here by Yu Lingwan. She had no intention of saving Shen Shucho, which made Hu Baibai unable to wait any longer. Why are you in such a hurry? We'll start today. You go out and wait. Yu Lingwan pouted. She had to prepare to save people so as to overcome the psychological barrier. Although Yu Lingwan's head was full of curiosity, saving people required her physique, and she was an inexperienced girl, so she naturally had to prepare well. It had been a few days, and Yu Lingwan knew that she couldn't drag it on any longer. Why should I go out? I want to see how you save the master. Hu Baibai was immediately dissatisfied when she heard that she was going to go out. You little girl, what's so good about saving people? Yu Lingwan's pretty face flushed slightly. How could this method of saving people make Hu Baibai stare at the side? I'm not little, Hu Baibai protested with her hands on her waist. Yu Lingwan looked at Hu Baibai with charming eyes. Hu Baibai didn't understand her look, and said angrily, what are you looking at? You are small everywhere, small in stature, young, small in butt, and small in breasts. Yu Lingwan held her chin with her hand and smiled sweetly. You have a big butt and big breasts, it's not like I won't grow up. Hu Baibai stamped her feet and said angrily. The next moment, a fragrant breeze came to her side. A slender jade hand gently pinched Hu Baibai's chin, and her eyes met those charming eyes. Hey, you were right, big butt and big breasts are amazing. Pa. After Yu Lingwan finished speaking, she slapped Hu Baibai on the butt. Ah, I'm going to kill you. Hu Baibai's face turned red. She didn't expect Yu Lingwan to dare to hit her butt, even the owner had never touched it. Okay, stop talking nonsense. If you want to save your master, just listen to me and leave the room. Okay, I will call you. Yu Lingwan put away his playful smile and said. Hu Baibai's angry face froze and said, then you are not allowed to do bad things to my master secretly, otherwise I will. I won't let you go. Quote, Hu Baibai wanted to watch here, but after hearing what Yu Lingwan said, he had to leave reluctantly. Before leaving, I repeatedly told Yu Lingwan not to do bad things. If he wanted to do bad things, I would have to do them in vain. She is quite young and has a very fierce temper. Yu Ling smiled happily and pushed Hu Baibai out of the door. Then he used his true energy to seal all the corners of the room, making sure that Hu Baibai couldn't peek before he felt relieved. Then he walked to the bed and looked at Shen Shucho, who was lying motionless. Yu Lingwan's face turned red. If you want to know how I saved your master in the future, you are not allowed to eat it. Yu Lingwan chuckled in her heart. I gave up my own body to save you, and you must give me a good reward. Let me give birth to a big fat boy, and finally inherit your qualifications, otherwise my aunt will die, do you hear me? Yu Lingwan lay whole body on Shen Shucho, drawing circles on his chest with his hand. She did this entirely to satisfy her curiosity, and wanted to know whether the product produced by combining with this kind of person would inherit Shen Shucho's qualifications or even surpass them. Where should I start? Yu Lingwan was in trouble again and didn't know where to start. Never mind, let's start with the mouth. Yu Lingwan put her red lips to Shen Shucho's lips, closed her eyes and slowly pressed them against hers. A flexible tongue slowly pried open Shen Shucho's closed teeth, entangled with another tongue and stirred up saliva. Yu Lingwan's breathing began to increase and her whole body felt hot. Yu Lingwan's skills seemed extremely raw, and it took a long time before her lips parted reluctantly. Two blushes appeared deeply on Yu Lingwan's charming face. There was lust flowing in the watery eyes that charmed all beings. He looked at the motionless Shen Shucho and pursed his red lips slightly. The next moment, she slowly took off her clothes with gentle and trembling movements, revealing her white shoulders and delicate white neck, like a lotus root that had just emerged from the water, making people want to take a bite. A touching spring color suddenly burst into the small room, like the first flowers blooming in spring. Yu Lingwan blinked gently, her long and curled eyelashes trembling slightly like butterfly wings. After a while, Lu Yemei frowned slightly and said with a painful look on his face, "Why is it so painful?" Yu Lingwan endured the pain and immediately used the goddess palace without any pause, and then cooperated with her yin soul spirit body to mobilize yin and yang to reverse life and death. With the cooperation of the two, Shen Shucho, who was originally lifeless, suddenly burst into life. Aha! After the severe pain, a strange feeling came from the body. Yu Lingwan's mouth was slightly open, her pink snowy neck was raised, and her charming eyes were almost dripping with water. After being driven out, Hu Baibai quietly leaned against the cold wall. Her small ears trembled slightly, as if trying to catch any movement inside. But to Hu Baibai's disappointment, she did not hear any movement from the wall. Time passed little by little, and Hu Baibai's heart became more and more restless. If Yu Lingwan had not promised her that she would definitely save her master, Hu Baibai would have broken into the door long ago with her character. Hu Baibai moved to the door and looked inside along the gap, but she could not see anything but darkness. At this moment, bang, the tightly closed wooden door was pushed open from the inside. Ouch! Hu Baibai was hit on the forehead by the sudden opening of the door. He immediately cried out in pain, covering his head and retreating. He looked at Yu Lingwan, who was leaning against the door in a red dress, angrily and said, "What are you doing? I should ask you what you are doing, lying in front of the door and peeking." Yu Lingwan had fine beads of sweat on her forehead, and there were still blushes on her pretty face. "I didn't peek," Hu Baibai pouted and said dissatisfiedly when he saw that his idea was exposed. "Children who lie will be spanked." Yu Lingwan smiled wickedly and joked. "You." Hu Baibai took a step back unconsciously, with his hands behind his back. "Hee, sister won't hit you." Yu Lingwan saw all of Hu Baibai's movements and smiled with her hands covering her mouth. "I won't argue with you. Is my master okay?" Hu Baibai saw that she couldn't win the argument with Yu Lingwan, so she simply stopped bothering with this bad woman. Then she asked about Shen Shuchu's condition with a nervous look on her face. "It's okay. You can wake up after 3 days of rest." Yu Lingwan's pretty face turned red again when she mentioned Shen Shucho. She couldn't help but think of all the spring traces in the room. When she heard that Shen Shucho was okay, Hu Baibai was relieved and rushed into the room. "You can't go in yet." Yu Lingwan stretched out her hand to stop Hu Baibai outside the door. If Hu Baibai was allowed to go in now, if she saw something, she would fight with her. "Since the master is okay, why can't I go and see him?" Hu Baibai's little face was full of reluctance. She couldn't wait to see her master again. "If you want your master to wake up safely, then listen to me. Yu Lingwan did not explain much, but just advised Hu Baibai not to go in now. Okay, Hu Baibai agreed with a droopy face after hearing this. After stopping Hu Baibai, Yu Lingwan walked carefully to another room, and a sharp pain came from his legs as he moved. Despite this, Hu Baibai still caught the strangeness of Yu Lingwan's walking. Where are you going? Hu Baibai stopped in front of Yu Lingwan as soon as he found the strangeness, and his small nose trembled and kept sniffing at his body. Why do you smell strange on you? Hu Baibai pinched his nose and took a half step back with a look of disgust. I spent a lot of effort to save your master, don't you let me rest for a while. Yu Lingwan forced a smile. Then why are you limping? Hu Baibai still did not give way and asked curiously. I just sprained my ankle accidentally, Yu Lingwan said, and walked away from her. Looking at the departing figure, Hu Baibai muttered softly, can practitioners also sprain their ankles? Then she trotted to the door and sat down. She would stay here until her master woke up. Back in the room, Yu Lingwan lay on the bed with a relieved smile on her lips. She gently stroked her flat belly with her slender jade hands and murmured, I hope you won't let me down. 3 days passed in a flash, and Shen Shucho woke up as promised. Lifting her eyelids that were as heavy as a mountain, the first thing she saw was Hu Baibai's tense little face. Seeing Shen Shucho open his eyes, Hu Baibai could no longer suppress her emotions and hugged him. Woo woo woo, master, you scared Baibai to death. The joy of reunion turned into endless tears of longing at this moment. Ahem, Baibai, you hugged me too tightly, let me breathe. Shen Shucho didn't understand what was going on. Didn't he remember that he was dead? Baibai, don't want it. Baibai is afraid that the master doesn't want it again. Me, quote, Hu Baibai hummed softly, slowly loosening his strength in his hands. Shen Shucho slowly sat up and looked around at this unfamiliar environment. Shen Shucho frowned slightly. He remembered that he was penetrated by Zuo Shu's Sauvignon Blanc. He was obviously dead, but instead of becoming a soul hanging in the sky like the first life, he came back to life. What's going on in vain? Shen Shucho asked Hu Baibai. Hu Baibai sobbed and recounted everything that happened after Shen Shucho closed his eyes. After hearing this, Shen Shuchu's frown deepened. Yu Lingwan was the woman he saw in Falling Sun Valley. He was actually saved by this woman. This is what he meant. In this case, Shen Shucho only had one guess in his mind, that is, his mission had not been completed yet. Shen Shucho glanced at the panel in his mind and understood instantly. Falling Sun Valley can only be regarded as the end of Hu Baibai's second stage, and now it is the beginning of the last stage. In this way, he would have to die again later. Zuo Shu's link was just the first step to introduce hatred, and it would further stimulate the hatred in Hu Baibai's heart in another way. Thinking of this, Shen Shucho gave a helpless smile. He touched Hu Baibai's head with distressed eyes. Hu Baibai buried his head into Shen Shucho's arms with a look of enjoyment, feeling the hard-won warmth. Every day without Shen Shucho is a life and death test for Hu Baibai. When Shen Shucho woke up, Yu Lingwan took one look and left quietly. Inside the Shengqing Taoist sect, Law Enforcement Hall. Ji Yu Mo, do you know your guilt? An elder looked down at the young man below with cold eyes, and the power of the terrifying god realm was suppressed like a mountain. What's wrong with this disciple? Ji Yu Mo raised his eyes and looked at him coldly. Presumptuous. Seeing that the elder of the transformation god realm dared to talk back to Ji Yu Mo, a roaring sound suddenly erupted in the air, and he was hit hard on the back with a whip, leaving bloody marks on his back. It is a taboo for your junior brother to support the Sky Demon, and it is a capital crime for you to let the Sky Demon go. Since you are a rare genius in this sect, I will give you an opportunity to make meritorious deeds. From now on, I will go down the mountain to capture your junior brother and the Sky Demon. Only if the demon is brought back can he be exempted from the death penalty. The law enforcement elder said coldly. I'm sorry, Ji Yu Mo can't obey his orders. Ji Yu Mo said firmly. Presumptuous, stubborn. The face of the law enforcement elder instantly became furious, and the long whip in his hand rose again, bursting out with terrifying power. With this whip, Ji Yu Mo will be left alive or disabled. Faced with such a situation, Ji Yu Mo's expression remained unchanged. Enough. At this moment, a figure broke into the law enforcement hall and stopped the whip for Ji Yu Mo. Feng Yangxi, what are you going to do? Your disciples support the demon clan and I didn't even bother you. What do you want to do now if you dare to break into the law enforcement hall? The law enforcement elder saw the person clearly and yelled angrily. I will give the sect a satisfactory answer to this matter. No one can touch my apprentice now. Feng Yangxi faced the elders of the law enforcement hall and said. Be presumptuous, you didn't come here just because you said you would. You are so blatantly protecting your apprentice, what do you want to do? All the elders suddenly started to criticize each other. I said, I will give the sect a satisfactory answer to this matter. A powerful aura unique to the tribulation realm bloomed from Feng Yangxi. In an instant, the entire law enforcement hall was silent, and everyone looked at Feng Yangxi with fear. Just do as you say. After a period of silence, a voice came from deep inside the law enforcement hall. After receiving the promise from the owner of this voice, Feng Yangxi took Ji Yumo and left the law enforcement hall. Neither of them spoke during the whole journey until they returned to their residence. Ji Yumo then said, Junior brother Shen is our family. I know, I'll leave this matter to my master. Feng Yangxi was silent for a moment and said. After sending Ji Yumo away, Feng Yangxi looked up at the sky and murmured, Destiny. Destiny. Feng Yangxi had a total of 4 apprentices in his life. Now the life and death of the third disciple Shen Shucho is unknown. The youngest disciple Zuo Shu put herself into confinement after leaving the Falling Sun Valley, and her mental state was extremely close to the edge of madness. After a long time, she was still very happy. Zuo Shu felt that she had a very long dream, a nightmare that made her tremble all over. In the dream world, she had a senior brother whom she loved very much. The two of them had been together for several years, and Zuo Shu had kept her love hidden in her heart. She did not expect anything else, and the happiest thing every day was to see her senior brother. She thought that the days would go on like this as time went by, and she would eventually be able to be with her senior brother one day and become the immortal couple in the eyes of others. But the accident still came one day, and her senior brother left Shengqing Dao sect without saying a word, and also left Zuo Shu's side. It was 3 years later when they met again, and at this time, there was a beautiful girl beside her senior brother. Zuo Shu saw the tenderness in her senior brother's eyes that he had never seen before, but it only brought her a familiar strangeness. From that moment on, Zuo Shu knew that this girl was a hindrance to her senior brother, a chain that trapped her senior brother, and the culprit who took her senior brother away from her. That was also the first time that Zuo Shu had a strong desire to kill. She would not allow anyone to take away her senior brother who only belonged to her. From that moment on, Zuo Shu decided to kill the girl who took her senior brother away. This almost became Zuo Shu's inner demon, and she wanted to get rid of it first and then quickly. In the last 5 years of the dream, Zuo Shu finally waited for this dream opportunity. The long-sightedness that she had placed her 5 years of longing and endless murderous intentions on was deeply inserted into the body of the senior brother that Zuo Shu loved. In an instant, in Zuo Shu's eyes, there were sad and beautiful blood flowers blooming, and the gentle blood soaked the long-sightedness. Zuo Shu never thought that the long-scented lover full of longing and love would be dedicated to her senior brother in this way. In an instant, Zuo Shu's world collapsed, and the figure she loved slowly fell into a pool of blood, and his body became no longer warm. At the same time, Zuo Shu's heart also cooled down. The strong feeling of suffocation turned into a dark tide in the void, drowning Zuo Shu in an instant. No, don't. In the dim room, Zuo Shu suddenly broke free from the shackles of darkness. The whole person lay on the ground like a dehydrated fish, trembling all over. He, I killed my senior brother. I killed my senior brother. He, ha ha ha, I'm sorry, senior brother, woo woo woo. Zuo Shu's pale and beautiful face was full of tears, and she murmured to herself while crying and laughing. Zuo Shu's heart was like a knife, and the heart-wrenching pain made it difficult for her to breathe. That was not a dream. She killed her senior brother with her own hands. This desperate suffocation made Zuo Shu on the verge of collapse. At this moment, a figure stood silently in front of Zuo Shu. Feng Yangxi's eyes were full of heartache, and he raised his hand to help Zuo Shu up. Woo woo woo, master, I killed my senior brother, I'm sorry I killed my senior brother. When Zuo Shu saw that the person coming was Feng Yangxi, she couldn't control her emotions and stumbled into his arms and cried. It's okay, it's okay. Feng Yangxi gently patted Zuo Shu's sweat-soaked back and said softly. I'm sorry, I killed my senior brother. Zuo Shu's delicate body kept shaking, her eyes were dull and she kept repeating unconsciously. Your senior brother is not dead. Feng Yangxi said softly. As soon as these words came out, the crying stopped abruptly. A ray of hope suddenly bloomed in Zuo Shu's dull eyes. Where is my senior brother? I want to find him. Feng Yangxi shook his head slightly without saying anything. Please, master, tell me where my senior brother is quickly. I want to find him. I want to find him. Zuo Shu anxiously grabbed Feng Yangxi's hand. You should recuperate for a while. I will take you to find your senior brother. Feng Yangxi comforted the emotionally unstable Zuo Shu. I want to find my senior brother. I must find him. Zuo Shu's hands still held tightly. I will definitely find him. After Feng Yangxi's repeated assurances, Zuo Shu's emotions slowly recovered a bit of clarity. After ensuring that Zuo Shu would not be in trouble, Feng Yangxi left. Back to the retreat, picked up Shen Shuchu's dark life card, and didn't know what he was thinking. If you want to take my disciple's life, I will be the first one to disagree. So-called destiny. Haha, I don't believe in this destiny. Feng Yangxi's eyes were indifferent, and a sneer rose at the corner of his mouth. In a blink of an eye, time had passed. It's been 3 months. Shen Shucho spent some time leisurely in Qingfeng mountain range. Ever since he was penetrated by Zuo Shu's Sauvignon Blanc, Shen Shucho's cultivation in the golden elixir realm turned into a mortal in an instant. Even though Yu Lingwan pulled him back from hell, Shen Shucho's body still had serious wounds. Although he has not reached the point where he cannot move, Shen Shucho can still feel that his life is still passing by day. Shen Shucho also knew that hiding in this small mountain village, he would be found one day, and that time would be the time of his true death. At that time, it will be the moment that Hu Baibai's final hatred is aroused, and a real Sky Fox Demon Lord is about to rise. After Hu Baibai left the Falling Sun Valley, he also realized the path to cultivating immortality. In just 3 months, he was already in the realm of spiritual silence, and the rapid progress was truly terrifying. After gaining cultivation, Hu Baibai's desire to control Shen Shucho became even stronger, and he had to obey her for almost everything, even what he ate every day had to be arranged by her. She had to sleep on the same bed as Shen Shucho every night, perhaps because Shen Shucho still had hidden wounds in his body, otherwise he would have been eaten up by foxes and wiped clean. During these 3 months, Shen Shucho was imprisoned by Hu Baibai in disguise. Shen Shucho didn't care about this, he just let Hu Baibai go. It is now autumn in September, and the weather has become cooler. Shen Shucho lay quietly on the rocking chair, shaking slightly and closing his eyes tightly. The sun shines on him through the window, creating mottled light and shadow. His face was calm, but there seemed to be a hint of deep contemplation hidden in it. At this moment, the noise of talking suddenly sounded outside the door, waking Shen Shucho up. Why are you here again? Hu Baibai's dissatisfied voice came to Shen Shucho's ears. What, little sister, I can't come. Then a charming voice responded. Bah, who is your little sister? You are not allowed to see the master anyway. Hu Baibai stretched out his hands to block the red figure in front of him with a fierce expression. If I don't teach you a lesson for a few days, your wings will get stiff again, right? Yu Lingwan pretended to be sullen, with a hint of a smirk in his eyes, and immediately started to suppress the cultivation level, locking Hu Baibai in place and unable to move. Then he twisted his body and stepped closer to Hu Baibai. Ah, what are you going to do? Snapped, snapped, snapped. Stop, you can't fight there. After a while, Hu Baibai stood aside with stubborn tears in his eyes, covering his buttocks. Listening to the commotion outside, Shen Shucho showed a smile. After Shen Shucho woke up, Yu Lingwan often came to visit Shen Shucho. Every time he came, unpleasant things would happen to Hu Baibai, but every time he would end up with Hu Baibai's failure. Hu Baibai doesn't like other women approaching Shen Shucho, especially Yu Lingwan, but every time Hu Baibai gets a thumbs down. I'm afraid only Yu Lingwan can suppress Hu Baibai. A wisp of fragrant wind came to Shen Shucho's side and interrupted his thoughts. How are you feeling better? Yu Lingwan sat aside and spoke softly. That's it. Shen Shucho smiled lightly. Here, eat this. In Yu Lingwan's slender palm, there was an elixir exuding an ancient fragrance. No need, it will end when it's time to end, why bother interrupting in the middle of the journey? Shen Shucho shook his head slightly and refused. Although I rescued you, you probably won't last long without taking the elixir. Yu Lingwan said with some worry in his tone. Death is the inevitable path for everyone. Even if you live for thousands of years, you will be nothing more than a skeleton in the end. Shen Shucho smiled calmly. But she will be sad. She has already cried once, so why make her sad again? Yu Lingwan wanted to use Fox Bye to persuade Shen Shucho to take medicine. She has to grow up, doesn't she? The appearance of some people is just a temporary passer-by in life, so there is no need to be sad. Shen Shucho's words immediately silenced Yu Lingwan for a while. Looking at Shen Shucho, who was so free and easy, Yu Lingwan lowered his eyes and didn't know what he was feeling. 3 months of intermittent contact with Shen Shucho would remind Yu Lingwan of what happened that day unconsciously. The infinite spring scenery on the bed lingered in Yu Lingwan's mind. After coming into contact with Shen Shucho, Yu Lingwan was also impressed by Shen Shucho's temperament unconsciously. He seems to be very indifferent to everything in the world, and seems to be uninterested in everything, with the exception of Hu Baibai. This cold-looking man seemed to have given all the tenderness in his eyebrows to Hu Baibai. So far, Yu Lingwan still hasn't figured out why a talented disciple of the Shengqing Dao sect would be willing to give up his career and go down the mountain. All he does is look at Hu Baibai outside the door. He can clearly shine with his own light in the future, write his own legend, and stand on top of the clouds. But now that he has become a sickly mortal, he still looks calm and calm. It is said that there is great terror between life and death, ranging from ordinary mortals in the world to cultivators in the world of immortality, even the powerful ones who dominate the world. Without exception, they do not want to do anything to increase their longevity. But the man in front of him seemed to have thrown life and death out of the sky a long time ago. Sometimes Yu Lingwan always feels that death is a kind of relief for him. Yu Lingwan knew that Shen Shucho must have hidden many secrets, and she was not good at prying into other people's secrets. Everyone has their own secret. Just like her, she secretly took something from Shen Shucho to satisfy her sudden curiosity. Yu Lingwan's eyes fell quietly on Shen Shucho's profile. His outline was clear and deep, as if he was hiding countless thoughts. Yu Lingwan was stunned for a moment, her charming red phoenix eyes gradually blurred, as if she would forget her surroundings and time. Unknowingly, my thoughts were drawn back to that day by memories, and 2 blushes rose from the snow spots. Aha, Hong Lu's little mouth couldn't help but moan. What's wrong with you? Shen Shucho looked over with a strange expression. Ah, it's okay, Yu Lingwan exclaimed when she came to her senses. Her beautiful eyes shyly covered her mouth-watering red lips. Seeing Yu Lingwan's appearance, Shen Shucho felt even more weird. This weird feeling had existed before, but he never asked. Why do I feel like you are hiding something from me? Shen Shucho expressed the questions in his heart. It's nothing. Yu Lingwan was shocked and quickly denied it. Really? In fact, you can tell me anything. Shen Shucho smiled faintly. You think too much about yourself. How can I hide anything from you, this girl? It's boring to talk to you, so I'm leaving. I've given you the medicine and it's up to you whether you want to take it or not. Yu Lingwan turned away and stood up quickly, speaking casually. He quickly put the medicine in Shen Shucho's hand and walked away. Yu Lingwan's heart was still beating wildly when she left the house. How could she say such a thing? What are you doing in there? Hu Baibai looked at Yu Lingwan, who had a guilty conscience, and said angrily. I won't tell you. But for hearing Hu Baibai's words, Yu Lingwan almost forgot that she was still locked in place by him. Immediately walked to the fox. Next to Baibai, he skillfully pinched his pointed chin, and a pair of charming eyes came up. What are you going to do? Looking at Yu Lingwan, who was so close, Hu Baibai's face froze. Of course I have to give you a little punishment. Yu Lingwan's eyes were cunning, and a sly smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. I warn you, Wu. Hu Baibai had a bad premonition in his heart, and warned fiercely with his eyes. But before he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly widened, looking at Yu Lingwan's actions in disbelief. Yu Lingwan's rosy little mouth actually kissed the tip of Hu Baibai's lips. Yu Lingwan's autumn eyes were charming and moving, and her mouth movements became more and more unbridled. A smooth tongue tip pried open the teeth and drilled in like a flexible little snake. Hu Baibai's brain crashed on the spot because of Yu Lingwan's bold action. Then Yu Lingwan parted her red lips, and her moist tongue gently held the pink earlobe of Fox Baibai. After a while, Yu Lingwan retracted all her movements, raised her mouth and smiled. The taste of fox mouth is quite good. Let me taste it for your master first. Yu Lingwan teased Fox Baibai with a wicked smile and walked away with a smile. Before leaving, she did not forget to slap Fox Baibai's round little butt. Fox Baibai was left alone in a daze. I'm going to kill you. Fox Baibai blushed, and her angry voice echoed in the small mountain village. He. Okay, I'll talk to you after you beat me first. Yu Lingwan's bell-like laughter soon came from the horizon. Fox Baibai rubbed his little butt and looked at the disappearing figure in the horizon with a vicious look. After Yu Lingwan left, Hu Baibai trotted back to the house. With tearful eyes, she plunged into Shen Shuchu's arms, rubbing her little head with twin ponytails in his arms. Bullying again, Shen Shucho rubbed Hu Baibai in his arms and smiled. HMPH. One day I will definitely get back at her and spank her hard. Hu Baibai gnashed his silver teeth and said angrily. Then Baibai must practice well. Shen Shucho lowered his eyes and said softly. Hu Baibai clenched his fists and said, Baibai must practice hard, and Baibai will protect the master's safety in the future. Okay, I'll wait for you. Shen Shuchu's eyes looked through the window with a halo of light, and the corners of his mouth smiled slightly. Spring, summer, autumn and winter are fleeting. In the blink of an eye, Shen Shucho has been living peacefully in this isolated mountain village for 3 years. This year, Hu Baibai is already 12 years old, and his cultivation has reached the peak of the Golden Core realm. 3 years is just a blink of an eye for the cultivator, but for Shen Shucho now, it is a long-term torture. The hidden injuries on the body also become more severe and severe, often accompanied by large amounts of vomiting blood. The whole person is getting worse day by day, and his face gradually becomes pale, no longer what it was before. During this period, Yu Lingwan occasionally brought pills to increase vitality and longevity, but Shen Shucho rejected them all. Although Shen Shucho deliberately concealed it, Hu Baibai still discovered it. Faced with Hu Baibai's anxiety, Shen Shucho seemed calm. For this reason, Hu Baibai often quarreled with Shen Shucho. Most of the time, Hu Baibai was talking and Shen Shucho was listening. Shen Shucho was lying peacefully on the rocking chair, which was also his favorite thing. Hu Baibai had just argued with him again and ran out angrily. I quarreled with her again. At this moment, a fragrant wind came behind Shen Shucho and gently rocked the rocking chair. His beautiful eyes were full of helplessness. It's okay. Children have normal tempers, Shen Shucho said without even opening his eyes. But why do you do this? You know she will be sad but you still do it. Aren't you torturing yourself and her at the same time? Yu Lingwan gently stroked Shen Shucho's face with one hand. Looking at this pale face, a flash of pity flashed in Yu Lingwan's eyes. After another 3 years of contact, Yu Lingwan couldn't explain how she felt about Shen Shucho. The things I borrowed from Shen Shucho had come to fruition as early as 2 years ago. The bad news is that she is a girl, but the good news is that she does have a terrifying talent as Yu Lingwan suspected, and she triggered visions as soon as she was born. Yu Lingwan named her Yu Shuiwei, and now she is hiding somewhere. Perhaps because of Yu Shuiwei, Yu Lingwan didn't want to see Shen Shucho's condition declining day by day. It was Yu Lingwan's sudden desire to conduct an experiment with Shen Shucho, just to satisfy her curiosity. This was also a unilateral deal she made with Shen Shucho. After the deal ended, Yu Lingwan should not have continued to have anything to do with him, but things often went off track. So Yu Lingwan didn't know how she felt about Shen Shucho, but she felt that it wasn't feelings. In fact, Yu Lingwan was very troubled many times. She wanted to tell Shen Shucho about this, but she didn't know how to say it every time. Yu Shuiwei is still very young now and is still very ignorant about certain things, but when she grows up there will be many things she wants to know, such as why she has never met her father. I have something to tell you. Yu Lingwan's head suddenly felt hot and he spoke involuntarily. Yeah, say it. Shen Shucho hummed softly. He also felt that Yu Lingwan seemed to be hiding something from him. He had asked Yu Lingwan several times before and she didn't want to tell him, so he didn't ask again. Now that Yu Lingwan is willing to take the initiative to speak out, Shen Shucho is naturally all ears. You can't get angry if you tell me, okay? Yu Lingwan whispered. Won't. Shen Shucho felt a little strange, but still answered. I'll tell you if you promise not to get angry. Yu Lingwan was still a little worried, like a child who had done something wrong and wanted to make sure his parents wouldn't be angry before speaking out. Shen Shucho opened his eyes and glanced at Yu Lingwan, who avoided looking at him. Shen Shucho smiled helplessly and said, Why are you like Hu Bye? Your personality has changed after staying with her for a long time. You say it or not. If you don't say it, I won't say it. Yu Lingwan said with a hint of anger in his eyes. Okay, I'm not angry. When Shen Shucho saw this, he had to promise that he would never be angry. Actually, Yu Lingwan's nervous hands pinched the corners of his clothes hard, and his voice was like a mosquito whispering. Just when she was about to muster up the courage to tell what she had hidden for a long time, her nervous expression suddenly changed. A powerful momentum descended on the small mountain village. What's wrong? Shen Shucho said doubtfully. Now that he has lost his cultivation, he cannot feel any changes. Yu Lingwan said nothing, the tense atmosphere said everything. He grabbed Shen Shucho with one hand and was ready to take him away from here at any time, but the power outside was too strong. Even though he didn't exude any hostility, it still made Yu Lingwan's blood tremble. At this moment, the closed door was suddenly pushed open by a force, and two figures fell into view. When Shen Shucho saw the visitor, he understood why Yu Lingwan was nervous. Senior. Yu Lingwan felt as if he was facing a formidable enemy and moved forward to block Shen Shucho. But the next moment, Yu Lingwan felt a hand pulling her away. When he turned around, he saw Shen Shucho getting down from the rocking chair with difficulty, and slowly knelt down in front of the person in front of him. He felt a little bitter in his heart, and said respectfully, Master. Seeing this scene, Yu Lingwan not only did not relax, but became even more nervous. When Feng Yangxi saw his apprentice again after 11 years, he felt mixed emotions. He immediately sensed that Shen Shucho had lost any cultivation and had become an ordinary mortal. Before Feng Yangxi could speak, Zuo Shu beside him couldn't wait to rush out. Senior brother. Zuo Shu rushed to Shen Shucho's side with tears in her eyes. The first time he wanted to help Shen Shucho up, but the next second. Puff! A mouthful of bright red blood spat out from the corner of his mouth. Zuo Shu was frightened by this sudden situation and said anxiously, Brother, what's wrong with you? Did I hurt you? Don't scare me. I'm fine. Shen Shucho wiped away the blood from his mouth with difficulty and said weakly. Feng Yangxi frowned and quickly checked Shen Shucho's physical condition, only to find that his vitality was dissipating at an extremely fast speed. Without any hesitation, a stream of true energy was continuously absorbed into Shen Shucho's body. The moment this true energy entered the body, it disappeared. Seeing this, Feng Yangxi frowned even deeper. It's useless. I've tried countless times. His body is like an abyss. No energy can repair it. He can't last long in this state. Yu Lingwan lowered his eyebrows and felt depressed. It was true that she had never used her true energy to repair Shen Shucho's body, but it was of no use. She could only hope to use elixirs to relieve the pain. I'm sorry, senior brother, this is all my fault, it's all my fault. After listening to Yu Lingwan's words, Zuo Shu paused and said with a painful expression. Now that Shen Shucho was like this, everyone in Zuo Shu thought it was her fault. Go back with me. Feng Yangxi took back his true energy, his eyes showing distress. He has been raising his apprentice for more than 20 years and has long since raised him as his successor. Now that Shen Shucho is like this, no one is suffering more than Feng Yangxi. The source of all this begins with the descent 11 years ago. The so-called destiny was taken away from Shen Shucho. From that moment on, Feng Yangxi decided that he must break the so-called destiny. No one can take Shen Shucho's life away from him, not even the elusive destiny. Shen Shucho's life card is in his hand, and only he knows Shen Shucho's location. The reason why he had resisted the pressure from everyone in the sect and had not set out to seek revenge was because he was prepared in advance. Feng Yangxi wants to completely cut off the so-called destiny from Shen Shuqiu in his own way. Feng Yangxi stared at Shen Shuqiu with distressed eyes, as if waiting for his words. Even if he spends his life, he will use all means to cut off the injustice on Shen Shuqiu. At this moment, Shen Shuqiu felt as if a heavy stone was weighing on his heart, making him breathless. He saw a trace of something in Feng Yangxi that only existed in the past, which was the long-lasting father's love. No matter what, Shen Shuqiu lived by Feng Yangxi's side for 20 years. Even if it is an iceberg that has not melted for thousands of years, it should be moved. But Shen Shuqiu also has unspeakable sufferings. He is not from this world. Even if he dies, he will be reborn in the next life. It should have been a passing cloud, but at this moment, Shen Shuqiu felt heartbroken and uncomfortable. Cannot go back. Shen Shuqiu lowered his head and did not dare to look at him, his eyes full of guilt. When this sentence was finished, there was no severe punishment as imagined. Instead, a big hand gently pressed on Shen Shuqiu's shoulder, as if it brought endless strength to Shen Shuqiu. Don't be afraid. As a teacher, no one can put unfair shackles on you. Feng Yangxi's voice was soft, but it did not lack the power of confidence. When Shen Shuqiu heard this, his heart was filled with bitterness, and he raised his head to look at that familiar smiling face. I'm sorry, Master, it's my apprentice who is unfilial, and I have failed to live up to your old expectations. After Shen Shuqiu finished speaking, he was about to kowtow heavily, but was lifted up by a gentle force. Silly boy, you are the oldest I have ever seen. There is no such thing as unfilial piety. I just feel that it is unfair for you as a teacher. Feng Yangxi's eyes were full of loneliness. Senior brother, can you go back with me? We can still be like before. Zuo Shu's eyes showed anticipation. Shen Shuqiu didn't say anything but shook his head slightly, which also showed his determination. Why exactly is this? What is so good about her that makes it worthy for you to do this, senior brother? Seeing that her former senior brother still had this attitude, Zuo Shu's heart felt like a knife was twisting in her heart. She grabbed Shen Shuqiu's hand tightly and her voice was hoarse. Not only Zuo Shu, they all didn't understand why Shen Shuqiu was willing to give up everything for a fox demon. Shen Shuqiu fell silent after hearing this. He didn't know what to say, and he couldn't tell him about the 9th reincarnation. Tell me, why don't you tell me? Please tell me, senior brother. Zuo Shu's face was flooded with tears and she was crying heartbreakingly. Shen Shuqiu whispered, because this is my destiny. I have to bear it from the time I was born into this world. This is an ending that cannot be changed. Shen Shuqiu's answer is always a fog that surrounds several people's minds. Is it okay to just kill her? I don't want senior brother to do this, but Zuo Shu doesn't want to. Zuo Shu became excited on the spot, her eyes filled with murderous intent. She looked around and found that there was only an evil spirit in the room but no figure in white. The murderous intention and incomparable hatred in her heart were poured out on Hu Baibai. It was Hu Baibai who snatched away her senior brother. Zuo Shu didn't want to believe this bullshit fate. Until now, Zuo Shu still believed that as long as she killed Hu Baibai, everything would return to its original trajectory. You are not alone and no one can force you. Feng Yangxi also couldn't accept this argument and didn't ask any more why. He had to take Shen Shuqiu away today. Shen Shuqiu shook his head slightly and said bitterly, Master, let me go. Let me complete my apprentice's fate myself. Shen Shuqiu didn't want to involve them in every possible way, but all this seemed to be a systematic arrangement from somewhere. Now that Feng Yangxi has found this place, Shen Shuqiu also has a premonition that the last step is coming. Just as Shen Shuqiu had predicted, several figures in the sky outside came quietly. A great power enveloped him in an instant. Feng Yangxi's expression inside the room changed, and he quickly opened the door and took a look. I saw a few familiar figures standing quietly high in the sky. Since Feng Yangxi has found your apprentice, please hand him over. A white-haired old man said indifferently, holding his hands behind his back. Looking at the crowd, Feng Yangxi's face turned ugly. How do you know this place? When he came to look for Shen Shuqiu, Feng Yangxi used a secret method to hide his aura and traces. Unexpectedly, the people from the sect still followed, and Feng Yangxi's face turned extremely ugly for a moment. But soon he understood the reason why he could still be found even though he had hidden his traces. His eyes caught a familiar figure from behind a few people. It was his second disciple Song Yuhuan, still holding Shen Shucho's life card in his hand. Why did you do that? Feng Yangxi looked directly at Song Yuhuan who was hiding behind him. Seeing that he was discovered, Song Yuhuan's eyes dodged a little, but he seemed to think of something and immediately said, Master, I did this solely to kill that sky fox. What you do will only put your junior brother in danger. Feng Yangxi's face was filled with anger. Why, he is obviously the one who supports the demon clan, and he is the one who deserves death. The senior brother protected him and left. The junior sister likes him. Now even you have to protect him. He should have died. Song Yuhuan's eyes flashed with a trace of resentment. I don't know since when, Song Yuhuan had a deep hatred for Shen Shucho in his heart. Feng Yangxi trembled when he heard this and looked at Song Yuhuan in disbelief. Feng Yangxi has never had any preference for any apprentice. He treats everyone the same, and everyone he has seen since childhood. For Feng Yangxi, these 4 disciples are like family members in his heart. No matter which one is in trouble or wrong, he will always be the first to stand up. Song Yuhuan's words undoubtedly gave Feng Yangxi a hard blow in his heart. You, master and disciple, will talk about old times later. Feng Yangxi will hand over your disciple now. The white-haired old man interrupted the two of them. Feng Yangxi's pressure suddenly increased when he faced this person. This person was Chu Shengchun, the current head of Shengqing Dao sect. The fox demon is not here. My apprentice is just a mortal now. I hope the master will let him go. Feng Yangxi said, how presumptuous. I gave you time because you are an elder of our sect. Your apprentice is the main culprit in supporting the sky demon. Only by handing him over to me can the fox demon appear. Chu Shengchun's aura changed and he rushed towards Feng Yangxi. When Hu Baibai was mentioned again, a trace of imperceptible greed flashed through his eyes. Ever since he knew that Hu Baibai was the demon of the sky fox, a strong greed arose in his heart. Once he obtains the demon elixir from the sky demon and refines it, his cultivation level will surely reach a higher level, even reaching the legendary emperor realm. Chu Shengchun knew that Feng Yangxi was known as a calf protector, and the reason why he was willing to give him time was because he didn't want to push him into a hurry. Now he is bound to win. As long as Shen Shucho is under control, everything will fall into place. My apprentice can only be here with me. Feng Yangxi decisively refused. How could he not know that once Shen Shucho was handed over to Chu Shengchun, it would be an inhuman torture? Do you know what you're doing? Chu Shengchun said with a serious expression. I know, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do as a master, and my apprentice can't let others criticize me. Feng Yangxi blurted out. Feng Yangxi, you are blatantly shielding your disciple and colluding with the demon clan. As the sect leader, I can directly execute you. Chu Shengchun said angrily. The terrifying aura in his words came down like a wave. Yes or no, it doesn't matter. My apprentice, is in Baoding. Feng Yangxi looked fearless and faced this powerful pressure. Back then, you were willing to give up your future to fulfill your so-called mission. Master never blamed you. Now, Master doesn't want to protect your so-called future for the last time. Feng Yangxi put his hands behind his back and said calmly, this sentence was said to Shen Shucho and also to himself. The robe on his body is like falling clouds, but there is no wind at this moment. As the robe fluttered, an invisible air flow surged around Feng Yangxi. The next moment, a terrifying momentum erupted like a volcano, sweeping away in all directions like raging waves. Shen Shucho trembled when he heard this, and tears filled his eyes. Feng Yangxi knew that there would be a bloody battle, and he couldn't care about anything else. He only knew that Shen Shucho was his disciple, and no one else could touch him. When the fight breaks out, you can take your revenge and leave as far away as possible. Leave me alone. Feng Yangxi secretly sent a message to Zuo Shu, Yulingwan and others. Master, I won't leave, I want to stay with you. Zuo Shu ran out of the room and stood behind Feng Yangxi with determination in her eyes. Silly boy, my master doesn't need your protection. It's your senior brother who should be protected now. Feng Yangxi patted Zuo Shu's head dotingly and smiled. Zuo Shu shook her head desperately. She didn't want to lose anyone. She didn't want anything to happen to her master or her senior brother. If only this were all the same as before. Feng Yangxi, you are seeking death. Since you and I are both elders of the Shangqing Dao sect, I advise you to hand over your disciple so that you can be safe and sound. At this moment, another person in the sky said, Okay, if you want to fight, fight. Stop talking nonsense. Let's see if I'm afraid of you. Feng Yangxi looked up to the sky and roared, and with a flick of his long sleeves, the sound of sword whistling instantly echoed between heaven and earth. A snow-white long sword stood quietly beside Feng Yangxi, as if a pair of old friends were reunited. Stubborn, this sect leader has decided to abolish Feng Yangxi's position as elder today, abolish his cultivation and bring him back to the sect. Chu Shengchun gradually lost his patience and said in a cold voice. He was determined to win this time, and Chu Shengchun wanted to see how Feng Yangxi, who had transcended the tribulation realm, could stop the five of them. Almost as soon as the words fell to the ground, the 5 people in the sky leaned down. Facing a Mahayana realm and 4 tribulation transcending realms, Feng Yangxi was not afraid at all. Feng Yangxi waved his hand, and a gentle force suddenly lifted up Zuo Shu, Yu Lingwan, Shen Shuqiu and the others and pushed them far away. They disappeared in the blink of an eye at such a fast speed. You dare! Chu Shengchun's face was furious. A big hand covering the sky and the sun formed in the sky and reached towards Shen Shuqiu and others. Zheng. The next second, a burst of sword intent set off a shocking white light, and instantly tore the giant palm apart. Feng Yangxi fell in front of Chu Shengchun in an instant. The long sword in his hand turned into thousands of shadows, and the sword intent scattered all over the horizon formed a cage to surround everyone. Feng Yangxi, you are seeking death. Chu Shengchun was completely angered by Feng Yangxi's actions. Shen Shuqiu was his bargaining chip to attract the heavenly demon. The troublesome Feng Yangxi must be dealt with now. Under the temptation of Tianden, even if Feng Yangxi is an elder in the sect, he cannot stop the murderous intention in Chu Shengchun's heart. Without hesitation, a giant palm was slapped on the head with great momentum. Under this terrifying palm, Feng Yangxi was crippled even if he did not die. The gap between the tribulation realm and the Mahayana realm was like an insurmountable chasm. The terrifying momentum carried by the giant palm had already shaken the ground beneath his feet into a huge deep pit before it even fell. The surrounding mountains were even more shattered, and countless rubbles were scattered in the distance. Feng Yangxi was like a tiny ant under his giant palm. There was a click. There seemed to be a sound of breaking shackles in Feng Yangxi's body. A powerful aura was rising steadily on him, like a majestic mountain standing between heaven and earth. In the blink of an eye, Feng Yangxi's cultivation turned into a supremely powerful man in the Mahayana realm. Facing the attack of the giant palm that covered the sky and the sun, he made a slight stroke with the long sword in his hand, and a bright light burst out, annihilating it in the blink of an eye. The terrifying sword intent exploded in the sky like a stormy wave, as if it was about to tear apart the endless void. In an instant, the wind and clouds changed color, and the heaven and earth trembled. Boom! In the blue sky, it was extremely dark for an instant, and a thick force of thunder blasted towards Feng Yangxi, but it was easily resolved by the sword. At this moment, it seemed that even heaven and earth could not tolerate Feng Yangxi. Chu Shengchun was deeply shocked by this sword intent, and he couldn't believe it for a moment when he looked at the figure that exuded the Mahayana realm. How dare you use the forbidden secret method of stealing the sky and destroying it, you madman! Chu Shengchun was shocked and angry. What is shocking is that stealing the sky and destroying it is a taboo secret method on the Silver Stream continent. Using this method, you can steal power from the heaven. Doing so is nothing more than contempt for heaven. Using this method, at the cost of life, to force the cause and effect on oneself, is a gross rebellion against the way of heaven and is not allowed. If the user has blood relatives, they will die suddenly one after another, which is equivalent to killing the 9 tribes. What makes me angry is that once this secret method is used, this method will. The earth will continue to rain down thunder and calamity until the user dies, and they are now in the midst of thunder and calamity and will inevitably be affected. Chu Shengchun did not dare to say that he could withstand such a terrifying thunder disaster. He never expected that Feng Yangxi was an out-and-out lunatic. Feng Yangxi smiled lightly and said, "This was originally prepared for my disciples, but now it can only be used on you. Every top sect will have a copy of the great method of stealing the sky and destroying it." In the past 3 years, Feng Yangxi's purpose was to take away the cause and effect from Shen Shuqiu by stealing the sky and destroying it, and to cut off the so-called destiny in the Sea of Thunder. Boom! Another barrel-thick thunder pierced the sky, and the thunder struck Feng Yangxi's sword intent. Come together and kill him, otherwise we will also die here. Chu Shengchen's face looked as ugly as a child that had been eaten to death. The faces of the other 4 people were as black as coals. This was a thunder calamity aimed at the Mahayana realm. Just their breath made the 4 of them tremble. Now we can only follow Chu Shengchen and kill Feng Yangxi in order to leave alive. Kill! I don't know who shouted. Everyone burst out with shocking power in an instant, blasting towards Feng Yangxi as if they were marching in unison. Ha ha ha, well done. I haven't had such a painful fight in hundreds of years. Feng Yangxi looked up to the sky and laughed. The figure in white robes shuttled through the thunderstorm, and the sword light in his hand illuminated the entire darkness. He waved his hand gently, and the sword intention rippled out, and the surrounding air also flowed with it. Every ray of sword intent contains endless killing intent, as biting as the cold wind. In this sword intent, he is the master and everything is under his control. In an instant, several forces bombarded together. The terrifying power exploded in the sea of thunder and calamity in the sky, and in an instant, the bodies of the 2 elders were torn into pieces by the sword. For a moment, this place looked like a doomsday natural disaster that was about to devour all living beings. In the jungle not far away, a petite figure was speeding towards this side. Master, master, her beautiful fox-white eyes had crystal tears sliding down the corners of her eyes. Looking at the endless darkness on the horizon, a bad premonition arose in my heart. At this moment, Hu Baibai was filled with regret. She didn't know what happened at home, but it must have been bad for her master. She shouldn't quarrel with her master, she should stay by his side. She clearly promised that she would protect her master. In addition, a figure exuding a terrifying demonic aura also appeared outside the small mountain village. Who is using thieving sky to destroy? A terrifying figure as huge as a mountain appeared. Those huge pupils were full of cold bloodlust. Soon he found the running body of the fox in his field of vision, and endless greed appeared in his eyes for a moment. Just when he was about to take action, another aura that made him fear appeared on the other side of the horizon. He was about to hide himself, but his eyes were always staring behind Hu Baibai. Tai Tian Ju Mie, long time no see. A beautiful woman in a gorgeous robe descended from the sky. For a moment, the storm surged, and countless powerful auras surrounded this place. Chapter 91. The sword was broken, and the sword was broken. Boom! Several dazzling lightnings streaked across the sky, followed by deafening thunders that resounded through the world. Countless thunders fell like silver snakes, as if to tear the whole world apart. The interweaving of thunder power and sword intent burst out with terrifying might. Feng Yangxi, you deserve to die. Chu Shengchen growled gloomily. At this moment, he looked extremely embarrassed. Among the 4 people who had brought him to the crossing tribulation period, only he could barely stand in this thunder tribulation. He stared at Feng Yangxi, who was standing in the thunder light not far in front of him, with murderous eyes. Even though he was trapped in the thunder tribulation, he was still full of fighting spirit. Ha ha ha, it's really refreshing. Feng Yangxi laughed. Under the double baptism of thunder tribulation and Chu Shengchen's killing methods, Feng Yangxi was exhausted. His white robe was stained red with blood, his loose black hair turned white, his face became old, but his eyes were not cloudy. Feng Yangxi knew that his vitality was fading at a very fast speed, and the cold and dark death surrounded him, and even the borrowed Mahayana realm was turbulent. This battle seemed to tear the void apart, the earth was full of desolation, and the surrounding mountains collapsed. People of their realm often can decide the winner after a few moves, not to mention the help of thunder tribulation. Feng Yangxi knew that from the time he performed the forbidden secret method of stealing the sky and destroying it, he would not be able to leave alive. But Feng Yangxi did not regret it. He had fought countless battles in his life, but he had never been as happy as today. Who can come this far when he was young and was not a son of a genius? After becoming famous, he became an elder of a top sect, and then gradually faded into obscurity. What made him feel most at ease was that he accepted 4 disciples. In Feng Yangxi's eyes, this was not just a master-disciple relationship, they were family. Feng Yangxi would naturally not sit idly by when his family was in trouble. As long as Feng Yangxi was still there, no one could bully his disciples. The so-called life-threatening death was not allowed, and the sect was also not allowed. He, Feng Yangxi, was the first to disagree. Now Feng Yangxi's only pity was that he did not have time to kill Shen Shuchu's life-threatening death. Or perhaps this was the fate of the unknown, and Feng Yangxi lost in this battle. Feng Yangxi also knew that even if he intercepted the sect, Shen Shuchu would still die as the deduced ending. But from the perspective of his heart, Feng Yangxi did not regret it, and would still choose this way even if he had to do it again. It's you, Feng Yangxi, who used the heaven-stealing and annihilation technique. At this moment, a cold voice came through the thunder tribulation. A beautiful woman in palace dress stepped into the thunder tribulation, looking at him with cold eyes. Long time no see, Taoist Mei Yan. Feng Yangxi's old face forced a smile. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, Feng Yangxi sighed in his heart. Xuanqing sect is also the top sect on the Yinliu continent, and Mei Yan in front of him is the leader of the sect. Her cultivation has already entered the Mahayana realm and her strength is unfathomable. Hundreds of years ago, when the two were young in the Yinliu continent, they also showed their charm. During that period, rumors spread that the two were Taoist couples, but this was just Feng Yangxi's one-sided love at the time. Mei Yan was like a cold fairy, and she only focused on cultivation. Later, the two went their own ways. When Feng Yangxi became an elder again, he gradually lost the idea of cultivation. On the other hand, Mei Yan climbed higher and higher and finally ascended to the position of the sect leader, becoming an existence above all others. 100 years old friend, I didn't expect to meet again in this way. Chu Shengchun, who saw the visitor, was immediately delighted and said, Dao Mei Yan, please help Chu to eliminate this traitor. This is your Shangqing Dao sect's business, what does it have to do with me? Mei Yan didn't even look at him, just sneered. Chu Shengchun's face suddenly froze. Now he and Feng Yangxi are both seriously injured, and they can't delay now. Feng Yangxi will never let him go. I don't know if Dao Mei Yan can take action with the heavenly demon pill. Chu Shengchun gritted his teeth and said. After saying this, Mei Yan glanced at him. Mei Yan also heard about the rumor that the heavenly demon appeared, but he didn't know whether it was true or not. Now looking at the situation on the field, it must be true. Tell me in detail. Mei Yan didn't agree at once, but asked Chu Shengchun to tell the process in detail. Chu Shengchun looked at the arrogant Mei Yan with a secret hatred in his heart, but he still said it one by one. Hearing the whole process, Mei Yan looked at Feng Yangxi thoughtfully and said, it's worth it. Quote, I have asked others this question before, and they gave me the answer of mission. I think this answer is also my answer. Feng Yangxi said with a carefree smile. You value feelings too much. Mei Yan was not moved, and her tone was still cold. If a person lives in the world without feelings, can he still be called a person? Feng Yangxi smiled bitterly, but then exuded a fighting spirit and said, come on. Let Feng come and see the Taoist friend Mei Yan who was once famous all over the world. You will die. Mei Yan's beautiful eyes were as cold as frost. Ha ha ha, don't you already have the answer? Besides, dying in the hands of Taoist friend Mei Yan is also a death without regrets. Quote, Feng Yangxi laughed loudly. The temptation of the heavenly demon pill is irresistible to almost every practitioner. Mei Yan in front of him is only devoted to cultivation. If she wants to go higher, then the heavenly demon pill is a necessity for her. Mei Yan didn't say anything else, but just looked at him deeply, and then raised her palm and a cold force suddenly emerged. The whole world seemed to fall into the nine-nether cold prison, and a cold blade burst out with supreme murderous intent. It's good to come. Quote, Feng Yangxi stood in the sky, his eyes firm and resolute. The long sword in his hand flashed with cold light, as if it was in tune with his mind. He took a deep breath, then swung a sword towards death, and instantly the terrifying sword intent swept out like a tidal wave. The sword blade drew a sharp arc in the air, with a sound of breaking wind, as if it was going to tear the void. Boom! The majestic supreme sword intent collided with the sharp blade of the cold prison. In an instant, the sword intent was frozen by the cold breath, and the sharp blade pierced through the void. The old figure that broke through the air. Feng Yangxi fell straight to the ground like a kite with a broken string. This was a crushing collision, and Feng Yangxi's sword intent had no effect at all. Lying on the cold ground, Feng Yangxi still had a smile on his lips. Mei Yan's attack did not kill him directly, but it also made Feng Yangxi's vitality fade faster. Now he can't hold on for a stick of incense. At this moment, the thunder tribulation above the sky has also retreated, and the shrouded darkness has turned blue again. I want 70% of the power of the heavenly demon pill. Mei Yan turned her head and looked at Chu Shengchun. When she heard this, when she was relieved, her face turned black on the spot. Dao Mei Yan is too greedy, Chu Shengchun said with a dark face. Saving your life by 70% is not too much, otherwise I can kill you anyway. Quote. Mei Yan glanced at him coldly. Feeling Mei Yan's cold breath, Chu Shengchun felt a chill in his heart, and he took a step back involuntarily and said, "If you kill me, the sect will punish you." Who knows? Mei Yan said casually. Chu Shengchun fell silent immediately. Even at his peak, he did not dare to guarantee that he could defeat Mei Yan, not to mention his current seriously injured body. But the loss of 70% of his demon power was too great for him, and Feng Yangxi's Shengqing Dao sect had lost a total of 4 people in the Tribulation Realm, which was a big blow to the sect. He would definitely face the interrogation of the old monsters in the sect when he returned this time, and whether he could keep the position of the sect master was still a question. Mainly, he did not expect Feng Yangxi to dare to use the forbidden secret method of stealing the sky and exterminating, and he did not expect that his fighting power was so fierce. At most 40 or 60. I was seriously injured this time. Otherwise, even if you kill me, I have a way to let the sect know. Quote. After saying that, Chu Shengchun looked at Mei Yan nervously. He was just trying to scare Mei Yan. 37 was too bad for him. He mainly wanted to get 10%. Even if Mei Yan didn't agree, he could change his mind. Then 64 is it. Mei Yan agreed. Chu Shengchun just breathed a sigh of relief, but Mei Yan's next sentence made him look ugly again. You sign a contract with me, Chu Shengchun said angrily. Mei Yan, don't go too far. This time Mei Yan didn't speak, but the murderous intent gradually emanating from her body had spoken for her. Seeing this, Chu Shengchun's angry expression darkened again, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay." Then he humiliated himself and signed a contract with Mei Yan. Once signed, he could not regret it, otherwise he would be punished by the way of heaven. When will you get it? Mei Yan asked coldly. I will tell you when you find me. Quote. Chu Shengchun snorted coldly and prepared to leave immediately. Master, take me with you. At this moment, a voice came from under his feet. Chu Shengchun looked carefully and found that Song Yuhuan did not die in the thunder tribulation. He immediately raised his hand to embrace him and disappeared from here in a flash. After Chu Shengchun left, Mei Yan did not choose to leave, but came to the dying Feng Yangxi. Looking at the gray-haired and pale Feng Yangxi, a strange light flashed in Mei Yan's cold eyes. Raising her hand, she injected a cold breath into him to freeze the dissipated vitality. In a flash, his injuries were healed, but the high-spirited Feng Yangxi no longer existed. Now he is just an ordinary centenarian. Feng Yangxi, who was originally ready to die, was stunned and said weakly, "Why is this? You have never known me." Mei Yan's eyes flickered and her voice was cold. Feng Yangxi fell silent after hearing this. Mei Yan's words hit Feng Yangxi's heart. The two had been together for 100 years. Did he really understand them completely? In Feng Yangxi's eyes, Mei Yan was just practicing and didn't ask about other things. Although Feng Yangxi had always been in love with her, he had never expressed his longing in words. The reason why the two were rumored to be Taoist couples was because they often went in pairs, whether exploring secret places or fighting enemies together, they helped each other. The journey ended only when the two went their separate ways. Now Mei Yan's words seemed to shatter the doubts in his heart, and at the same time made him look older. There was a bitterness in his heart. Yes, maybe she had been giving him opportunities, but he was stupid and couldn't see through it at that time. Feng Yangxi would not say what he didn't say at the beginning. The past was just a passing cloud. The old body leaned on the side and said, I used the heaven stealing and annihilation. It's useless for you to seal it like this. Heaven will not allow me to live. I act according to my heart. Mei Yan said calmly. Feng Yangxi smiled bitterly. Mei Yan was still the same as always. Find a place to live well in the future. Forget about what happened in the past. Mei Yan turned her back and did not leave for a long time, but her shoulders trembled slightly. Looking at Mei Yan's back, a bitter feeling filled his heart. Okay, Feng Yangxi said a word with difficulty. After the voice fell, Mei Yan did not say anything else, and her figure disappeared instantly. Alas, looking at Mei Yan leaving, Feng Yangxi sighed in his heart. At this moment, the figure of Hu Baibai came out from the small bushes next to him. Looking at the small mountain village that had become a ruin, tears gushed out like a spring. Hu Baibai ran madly towards the ruins, digging the rubble with her little hands, and she didn't stop even when her palms were cut by sharp stones. Master, Hu Baibai's beautiful face was drowned in tears. At this moment, her heart was torn. Hu Baibai kept blaming herself in her heart. Why did she quarrel with her master? Why did she leave in anger? She clearly said that she would protect her master. Why did it become like this? Her petite body trembled in the ruins, and her little hands were stained red with blood. You are Hu Baibai. At this time, an old voice fell into Hu Baibai's ears. Hu Baibai turned around suddenly, but found an old man sitting not far away. Who are you? Where is my master? Seeing this person, Hu Baibai couldn't control the murderous intent in his heart, and instantly came to the old man. Looking at Hu Baibai, who was emitting a demonic aura in front of him, Feng Yangxi seemed calm in his heart. This is the mission that Shen Shuqiu mentioned. Feng Yangxi wanted to kill her at the first opportunity, but was stopped by an invisible force. Now Feng Yangxi no longer has the obsession to kill her. Even if Hu Baibai is killed now, it still cannot change the fate of Shen Shuqiu. I am your master's master. Feng Yangxi said. The master's master. Hu Baibai whispered in his heart. Then where is my master? Where is he? Hu Baibai put down the murderous intent in his eyes and asked anxiously. Before Feng Yangxi spoke, a shadow appeared in an instant and enveloped the two of them. Looking up, they saw a huge monster looking down at them. The huge pupils were filled with bloodthirsty murderous intent and a strong greed. Is this the celestial demon? So weak. The huge monster, as big as a mountain, had a voice like thunder and looked at Hu Baibai mockingly. Feng Yangxi's face suddenly changed. Although he had no cultivation now, he could still feel that the monster's cultivation was at least at the spiritual transformation realm. It was good at hiding. The hidden monster waits until the battle in the field is over before it dares to emerge. Now that the old man no longer poses any threat, this little sky demon will naturally come into his mouth. Feng Yangxi pushed Hu Baibai hard and said, run. However, under the suppression of the monster's terrifying aura, Hu Baibai's body was frozen in place, unable to move. How does the heavenly demon taste? Let me taste it. The monster couldn't suppress the greed in its heart, and grabbed Hu Baibai with its huge palm. There was no fear in her fox-white eyes. She was not afraid of death, but in her heart she was just afraid of losing her master. It would be great if I could see my master again, Hu Baibai thought in his mind. I don't know if he felt something in his heart, but a familiar voice came over. Fox bye-bye. Hu Baibai looked around with surprise on his face, only to see a figure rushing towards him. It was Shen Shuqiu who was sent away by Feng Yangxi. But they rushed back halfway, and Shen Shuqiu knew that he had to come back. Do not come. Hu Baibai stopped in fear. Shen Shuqiu dragged An Sheng's body and used his last strength to push Hu Baibai away before the giant palm fell. And he himself was caught in that terrifying giant palm. The monster immediately became furious when he saw that he had actually captured a mortal. He threw Shen Shuqiu aside with great force, and the terrifying force spread throughout his body instantly. All the bones in the body were broken at this moment, the internal organs were piled together, and blood flowed out from the broken chest. No! Tears of panic burst out of her fox-white face, and she rushed towards Shen Shuqiu desperately. Just when he was about to continue grabbing Hu Baibai, he felt a pain in his body. When he turned around, he found two figures attacking it, namely Yu Lingwan and Zuo Shu. However, due to their strength, the two of them were tortured like toys in the hands of the monsters in the transformation realm. In the blink of an eye, they were both injured and fell down together without any fighting ability. After dealing with the two of them, the monster was about to attack Hu Baibai again. A stream of light fell from the sky and stood directly in front of the monster. When the light dissipated, it was a man wearing a black robe. Big brother. Seeing the visitor, Zuo Shu shouted excitedly. Ji Yu Mo glanced at the master, younger brother and younger sister on the ground, with infinite murderous intent in his eyes. The monster's face was completely furious, and it tried to ruin its good deeds one after another. Take 3 punches from me. If you don't die, I will lose. Ji Yu Mo swore coldly. The monster suddenly became furious and said, where is this young boy looking for death? Before it could take action, it saw the man in front of it beginning to condense his fists. A powerful aura was building up on him. At the same time, a danger of death enveloped the monster's heart. Ji Yu Mo's eyes turned cold. Like a devouring beast, he stepped forward and raised his hand to punch him. There was no brilliant light in this punch, but only majestic force, like a huge wave sweeping over it. Boom! A heavy roar instantly erupted in the air, penetrating the sky and resounding throughout the world. This fist wind with supreme killing intent instantly blasted a bloody hole out of the monster's huge body. Feeling the severe pain on its body, the monster's face was extremely frightened, and it was unable to catch this punch. Before the monster could react, Ji Yu Mo in front of him moved instantly. As soon as he stepped on his feet, he flew out like arrow feathers. He jumped up and punched down suddenly. The second punch is powerful enough to defeat thousands of enemies and swallow mountains and rivers with anger. Boom! The monster's body was directly knocked to the ground by this terrifying punch. Smoke suddenly filled the ground. The monster's lower body was smashed into the ground, and its bones as hard as mountains shattered under the punch. At this moment, the monster was completely frightened, with fear in its pupils. He was struggling to get out of here, but this man was completely beyond his control. The monster wanted to use its demonic energy to stand up, but its legs were stuck into the ground, and the bones in its chest were crushed by the huge force. It could only watch helplessly as the third punch was about to come. Ji Yu Mo's face was calm, his body was bent forward, his thighs suddenly exerted force, and he ejected instantly. The third punch was unstoppable. The moon was dark and there was no light. With a fierce punch, the color of the sky and the earth changed, and the mountains and rivers collapsed. Under this unparalleled punch, the space seemed to be torn apart. Boom! Only the light of the fist was dilating in the monster's pupils. The next moment, the huge head was blasted into blood mist. This is Ji Yu Mo, Feng Yangxi's strongest senior brother, who used his peak strength at the out-of-body realm to kill the monster in the transformation god realm with 3 punches. After killing the monster, Ji Yu Mo came to the ground and saw several people surrounding Shen Shucho. The fall just now completely pushed Shen Shucho to the edge of death, and his chest exploded and blood flowed out uncontrollably. Quote, "Woo woo woo master. You don't want to die." Quote, Hu Bai Bai burst into tears and lay all over Shen Shucho. Senior brother. Zuo Shu was shaking so much that she could hardly speak, and tears fell from the corners of her eyes. Although Yu Lingwan said nothing, his trembling shoulders said everything. Feng Yongzi Lao looked at Shen Shucho with tears streaming down his face. The apprentice he had raised as his son was going to leave him at the last moment. No one here can understand this kind of pain, and no one can feel it. When Ji Yu Mo came to him, his heart trembled fiercely. Without saying much, he just kept injecting qi into Shen Shucho's body in an attempt to repair his body. It's just that the real energy injected into it has no effect at all. Shen Shucho raised his fingers slightly, as if he had something to say to everyone. Shen Shucho laughed miserably, then looked at Feng Yangxi and said, "I'm sorry, master, I have failed to live up to your expectations." Feng Yangxi wiped off the blood stains on Shen Shucho, forced out a kind smile and said, "You will always be my good disciple." I, Feng Yangxi, never accepted the wrong person. Shen Shucho looked at Zuo Shu again and said, "Junior sister, I have failed you." With tears in her eyes, Zuo Shu said in pain, "Senior brother, Zuo Shu doesn't want anything anymore. Zuo Shu wants you to live." After saying this, Shen Shucho looked at Ji Yu Mo and said, "Elder brother, I hope you can protect everyone." Ji Yu Mo grabbed Shen Shucho's hand and said, "I will." Then Shen Shucho turned to look at Yu Lingwan with difficulty and said, "Although I don't know why, I still want to thank you." Yu Lingwan could no longer hide the tears in her eyes and sobbed, "I should be the one thanking you." Even in the end, Yu Lingwan still did not reveal Yu Shuiwei's existence. Finally, Shen Shuqiu looked at Hu Baibai and said with the last trace of tenderness, "Do you still remember when you asked me whether I wanted to be a good demon or an evil demon? Now I tell you, good and evil are just a matter of thoughts. Weigh it in your mind. When it is time to do evil, you will kill. When it is time to do good, you will kill more." Bai Bai doesn't know, woo woo woo. Bai Bai just wants his master to accompany him. Don't leave Bai Bai, okay? Hu Bai Bai shook his head and cried loudly. Shen Shuqiu took one last look at everyone, and his voice became weak and delicate as he said, "Finally, it's really nice to meet you." After saying that, Shen Shuqiu could no longer hold back his sleepiness, and slowly closed his eyes in the sad gazes of everyone, with a smile of relief at the corner of his mouth. Owner, senior brother, book feud. In this life, Shen Shuqiu has been sorry to many people. He felt sorry for Feng Yangxi who had raised him since childhood. He felt sorry for his junior sister Zuo Shu, who had fallen in love with him. He felt sorry for his senior brother who protected his shortcomings. Even Song Yuhuan, who used to coexist peacefully with him, just hoped that everyone would be well. It's just that the shackles of fate on Shen Shuqiu's body have locked him tightly. In this life, he only came here for the fox in vain. After Shen Shuqiu died, the sound of mournful screams resounded throughout the heaven and earth. After decades, Shen Shuqiu ended his mission in this life, but the fate of his fate was not over yet. A soul detached from Shen Shuqiu's body, rushed into the sky and turned into an invisible eye to watch quietly. In the ruined mountain village, the crowd surrounding Shen Shuqiu's cold and broken body looked extremely sad. Hu Baibai curled up in Shen Shuqiu's arms, and his originally smart eyes turned red, filled with endless sadness. Tears rolled down like broken beads, and his body trembled slightly, as if the pain in his heart was unbearable. At this moment, Hu Baibai was like an abandoned child, crying alone and helplessly. "Master, Bai Bai will never be naughty again, and I will never quarrel with you again. Can you come back?" Hu Baibai buried his tear-soaked cheek in Shen Shuqiu's broken chest. Shen Shuqiu was like a bright mirror that illuminated the first half of Hu Baibai's life, turning into countless memory fragments that emerged in Hu Baibai's heart at the moment of fragmentation. No matter how naughty and willful Hu Baibai was before, that smiling face full of spring breeze would always tolerate him in the most gentle way. Hu Baibai enjoyed Shen Shuqiu's tenderness and warmth for a whole 11 days. Those beautiful pictures disappeared forever at this moment. The memory seems to travel through time and space back to the first acquaintance, and the words that Hu Baibai will never forget in his life. "Hello, fox is white." At the same time, a flame called hatred was burning deep in Hu Baibai's heart. The angry flames of hatred were almost swallowing up Hu Baibai, and every flame contained supreme killing intent. She lost her parents, it was Shen Shuqiu who raised her, and it was Shen Shuqiu who gave her the deep love after her parents. She could obviously live happily with her master for the rest of her life, and she had clearly promised to marry him as his wife when she grew up. But before all this could be completed, the master left her forever. At this moment, Hu Baibai only had one thought left in his heart, burning everything with the fury of purgatory in his heart. Zuo Shu looked at Hu Baibai without saying anything. Her beautiful face was extremely sad, and tears were dripping down her cheeks. What's the point of hating Hu Baibai in her heart now? Senior brother will never come back. Yu Lingwan, who was standing behind several people, had pale eyes, and there was an indescribable sense of loneliness in his beautiful eyes. She couldn't explain how she felt about Shen Shuqiu. It was clear that what we were doing was just a transaction, but why was it so painful in my heart? None of them spoke, surrounded by endless sadness. Perhaps there is a way to revive the feud. In this sad mood, an old voice suddenly sounded. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at Feng Yangxi. "Master, there is really a way to save senior brother?" Zuo Shu asked anxiously and panicked. "As long as I can save my master, I am willing to give anything." Hu Baibai raised his pale face and said, "I don't know what the master is talking about." Even Ji Yu Mo, who was not good at words, asked. Yu Lingwan said nothing, but the look in her eyes said everything. Feng Yangxi sighed and said, "It is rumored that the great emperor realm, which is above the sky, can lead to the other side, enter the netherworld, and call life and death. If there is a strong emperor realm, maybe Shu Chu can be saved." As soon as these words came out, several people fell silent. How is this possible, Great Emperor? Zuo Shu's hope was extinguished once again. The realm of the Great Emperor is a realm that many monks dream of. Reaching this realm transcends the cycle of life and death. Those who are powerful can even travel through time and destroy a planet at will. There has not been a powerful person in the Great Emperor realm in the Silver Continent for nearly 10,000 years. This method is as difficult as climbing to the sky. Even Ji Yu Mo, who was so powerful, bowed his head and remained silent. One can imagine how difficult it is to be in the realm of the Great Emperor. A great emperor has defeated the Taoist hearts of many talented sons. Little did he know that these words would stir up waves in Hu Baibai's ears. For a moment, Hu Baibai suddenly thought of the familiar voice coming from the bottom of his heart in Falling Sun Valley. Somehow, there seemed to be a thread leading Hu Baibai to be destined to return to Falling Sun Valley again. After a long silence, everyone began to plan their future plans. Now that I am old, I can no longer protect you. Feng Yangxi smiled bitterly, although Mei Yan temporarily sealed his dissipated life. Machine, but one day he will die. Those who use the secret method of stealing the sky and destroying it, which is contrary to the way of heaven, are not allowed to survive. No matter what the outcome is, the important thing is that in the process, Feng Yangxi resolutely chose to stand up. I will not return to the sect. I will stay with the master from now on. Zuo Shu chose to accompany Feng Yangxi without hesitation. I will avenge my junior brother. Next, I am going to go to the 10,000 burial abyss to practice. Ji Yu Mo said in a deep voice, his words revealing endless killing intent. As the senior brother, Ji Yu Mo must shoulder the responsibility after his master. I can go anywhere, Yu Lingwan said silently. Ever since she rescued Shen Shuchou in Falling Sun Valley, she has been wanted by the Maiden Palace. Yu Lingwan didn't care about this, since she had no feelings for the sect anyway. There is no place in the world that is not home. Now Yu Lingwan just wants to raise Yu Shuiwei in peace, and finally send her to the top sect in the world. Yu Lingwan, who had grown up in the demon sect since childhood, was already tired of the insidiousness and cunningness involved. Yu Shuiwei inherited Shen Shuchou's qualifications. Yu Lingwan didn't want her to follow her own path, so it was better to send her to Daozong to carry forward her career. In the end, everyone looked at Hu Baibai. Even though everyone knew that Hu Baibai was the cause of all this, they no longer have such thoughts now. I want to take the master home, Hu Baibai said hoarsely and lowly. Now Hu Baibai just wants to take his master back to their original home, back to the small courtyard among the bamboo forests. The autumn wind was bleak, gently blowing through the ruins with a hint of sadness. The ruins looked even more dilapidated in the sad wind, and endless sadness filled the air. 7 days later, click, Hu Baibai pushed open the closed bamboo door and saw the familiar courtyard. The clean courtyard was covered with waist-high weeds, mixed with unknown wild flowers, which added a touch of life to the deserted courtyard. Hu Baibai removed all the weeds with her hands, and she gently placed Shen Shuchou's cold body on the rocking chair in the courtyard. Hu Baibai buried his head on Shen Shuchou's heartless chest. The red and swollen eyes seemed to have been soaked in tears for a long time, and their expressions were filled with boundless pain and sadness. Master, Baibai misses you so much. Can you open your eyes and see if Baibai is okay for once? Baibai won't be naughty anymore. Hu Baibai sobbed softly. The mournful cries gradually amplified in the small courtyard. Hu Baibai tried to wipe away the tears with his hands, but the tears flowed more and more, as if they could never be wiped away. Her pale lips trembled slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but couldn't express it. Only the silent tears told her inner pain. Time flies, and another month passes in the blink of an eye. During this period, Hu Baibai never left Shen Shuchou, talking to himself like a madman all day long. Hu Baibai didn't know how many times he had cried, and he didn't know how many days and nights he had not closed his eyes. She seemed to have lost her soul, like a zombie, suffering inhuman torture every moment. Do not cry. At this time, a gentle female voice sounded in Hu Baibai's ears. Yu Lingwan didn't know when she came to Hu Baibai's side. Hu Baibai said nothing, still lying in Shen Shuchou's arms. Over the past month, Shen Shuchou's cold body had gradually warmed up under the influence of Hu Baibai day and night, but his heart no longer had any intention of beating. He doesn't want to see you so sad either, please stop crying, okay? Yu Lingwan leaned down and comforted her gently. Yu Lingwan felt a pain in her heart when she saw Hu Baibai's appearance. From the gradual contact with Shen Shucho, she could feel that Shen Shucho had a heart that wanted to die. Although he didn't understand what kind of secrets Shen Shucho was hiding, what he did was too cruel to Hu Baibai, and he vaguely remembered what Shen Shucho once said in his mind. The appearance of some people is destined to be a passerby in life, so there is no need to be sad. To Shen Shucho, he may be a passerby in life, but to Hu Baibai, this is a significant part of her life. Hu Baibai still didn't reply, and Yu Lingwan didn't say anything more, but stayed with her quietly. Before they left last time, she left a message to Hu Baibai that he could contact her if anything happened. Yesterday, she received the message from Hu Baibai, and then rushed over without stopping. I would like to ask you to help look after the master. After a while, Hu Baibai said hoarsely. Yu Lingwan's eyes flashed and she didn't know what she was thinking, and then she said, what are you going to do? Revenge. Hu Baibai didn't say much. Two simple words explained the boundless murderous intention in her heart. You can't take revenge with your current level of cultivation. The most important thing right now is to live well so that you can have a chance to take revenge in the future. Yu Lingwan was slightly surprised. I have my own way. During this period, you just need to help me take care of the master. Hu Baibai reluctantly stood up from Shen Shucho's arms, and suddenly stumbled. She was so weak now, as if a gust of wind could blow her down. No, I can't let you go. Seeing Hu Baibai almost losing her balance, Yu Lingwan was even less likely to let her do something stupid. I said, I have my own way. Hu Baibai's voice became cold. Those empty pupils were like an endless abyss, carrying a bone-gnawing chill. For a moment, Yu Lingwan felt chills and an inexplicable feeling of fear emerged in her heart. At this moment, Yu Lingwan felt that the fox in front of her had changed instantly, becoming scary, and she shuddered just by looking at it. Seeing this, Yu Lingwan didn't say anything more. He nodded slightly and said, I will take care of it for you. When I come out, I will come here to find you. If I find you missing with my master at that time, I will definitely kill you. Fox Baibai's voice was as bone-chilling as the desolate cold night. Yu Lingwan forced a smile and said, are you still afraid that I will eat your master? Hu Baibai didn't reply anymore, turned around and returned to Shen Shucho. His eyes that were cold just now became as tender as water and said, Master, wait for Baibai to come back. The fox white mouth gently pecked the tip of Shen Shucho's bloodless lips. After doing this, Hu Baibai bid farewell to Yu Lingwan and quickly rushed out of the bamboo forest. She is going to Falling Sun Valley now. Hu Baibai has a strong feeling in her heart. Only by going there can she have a chance to bring Shen Shucho back to life. At the same time, it seems that there are important things of his own waiting for him to get them. Looking at Hu Baibai's retreating figure, Yu Lingwan suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. The Hu Baibai just now really made her feel scared. Yu Lingwan looked at the lifeless Shen Shucho with her beautiful eyes and was filled with thoughts. You are truly heartless and unjust. You died freeing yourself, but you only left sorrow in the world. Yu Lingwan's eyes flashed. So what secret do you have that makes it worthwhile for you to give up your peerless talent and die resolutely? Yu Lingwan said again. She has never been able to see through Shen Shucho, and Yu Lingwan sometimes even felt that he was not supposed to exist in the world. That free and easy feeling, that calmness, and that impenetrable secret all made Yu Lingwan can't read. Then Yu Lingwan simply sat next to Shen Shucho and stared at that face, lost in thought. Something suddenly occurred to him, and there was a strong sense of confusion in his apricot eyes. After a moment, Yu Lingwan turned around and glanced behind him, as if he had made up his mind. Then he used his true energy to lift up Shen Shucho's body and slowly walked into the house. Yu Lingwan's face was red, and she gently took off her clothes with her jade hands. Suddenly the whole room was filled with an alluring spring scenery. The sun shines through the window, reflecting the snow-white shadow on the wall. Yu Lingwan shyly leaned down and looked at Shen Shucho, who was motionless, and suddenly felt a strange feeling. It was as if someone was watching her from the dark, and this feeling came from Shen Shucho lying underneath her. Hey, don't scare me. Yu Lingwan covered the snow-white mountains on her chest and said nervously. But after a while, there was no movement from Shen Shucho underneath him. Yu Lingwan felt relieved or a little regretful. But she couldn't care less. She closed her eyes and leaned forward with her body trembling slightly. Within a few moments, the room was filled with bursts of coquettish cries that made people blush, like the sound of birds chirping. As everyone knows, a pair of eyes above the sky slowly closed at this moment. I don't know how much time passed, but Yu Lingwan limped out again, with the moisture still lingering on his face. Behind her, Shen Shucho's body slowly followed and walked out. But those eyes were extremely hollow, and there was no trace of life in his body. From now on, your name will be Yu Shu, and I will be your wife. Do you understand? Yu Lingwan panted. As commanded, Shen Shucho responded with a mechanical voice. Speak with some emotion. Yu Lingwan wrinkled her nose and said dissatisfiedly. As commanded, this time Shen Shucho's voice was no different from that of ordinary people. Only then did Yu Lingwan smile with satisfaction. She used the double cultivation method of the goddess palace to turn Shen Shucho into her puppet. Yu Lingwan also had his own selfish motives for doing this. She wanted to give Yu Shuiwei an explanation, which was also an explanation for herself. Yu Shuiwei is very smart. Even at the age of 3, she has already asked her where her father is several times. Yu Lingwan couldn't bear that she hadn't experienced her father's love since she was a child, and the arrogant Yu Lingwan didn't want to find someone to pretend to be. Coupled with Hu Baibai's departure today, Yu Lingwan came up with this idea. Yu Lingwan left a trace of aura in the small courtyard. She could feel it as soon as Hu Baibai came back, and then she would return Shen Shucho. Even if Hu Baibai notices something, Yu Lingwan will bear it alone if she wants to be killed or chopped into pieces. Everything she does now is just fulfilling the responsibilities of a mother. Then Yu Lingwan took Shen Shucho out of the forest courtyard and sped away in a certain direction. One day later, Yu Lingwan took Shen Shucho to a lakeside cabin. Mom is back. Before Yu Lingwan opened the door, she saw a girl in a pink skirt running out with her bare pink feet. Yu Shuiwei, where are your shoes? You don't wear them, right? Yu Lingwan scolded with a straight face. It's not comfortable to wear shoes, why don't you, mother, be in a bad nest? Yu Shuiwei pouted her little mouth and twisted it. Yu Shuiwei hugged Yu Lingwan's thigh, tilted her head and stared blankly at Shen Shucho behind her. On the pink and jade-carved little face, a pair of big, watery eyes were full of doubts. Here, Shui Wei, you are the father. Yu Lingwan quickly introduced Shen Shucho. Hearing these words again, Yu Shuiwei let go of her little hand and quickly rushed to Shen Shucho's side. After receiving Yu Lingwan's order, Shen Shucho hugged her and asked with a smile, do you miss daddy? Yes, Shui Wei dreams about daddy every night. Yu Shuiwei's small mouth makes a milky sound. Seeing this heartwarming scene, the corners of Yu Lingwan's mouth raised slightly. 3 days later, Hu Baibai stepped into the misty meteoric valley again. Hu Baibai stood in front of the meteoric valley, and her cold eyes seemed to penetrate the depths of the mist and saw 8 charming figures waiting for her. Just like last time, the incomparable familiarity came like a tide. Unlike Hu Baibai who resisted 3 years ago, this time she had to go in, only in this way could she revive her master. Hu Baibai's eyes were determined not to hesitate, and he stepped directly into the mist. At the moment of stepping in, all the mist retreated in one direction, as if guiding Hu Baibai. It seems that you are ready this time. At the same time, a familiar voice sounded again in Hu Baibai's heart. You or me, right? Hu Baibai thought. Since coming here 3 years ago, Hu Baibai has had this guess in his heart. The familiar rhythm and the familiar figure are slowly overlapping with Hu Baibai. To be precise, we are your first 8 lives. In each life, a consciousness will be split out, and in each life, there will be an extra tale. Each tale contains the power of a life, and you are our 9th life. To put it another way, we were born from the void realm above the avenue. From the beginning, we were just a group of chaotic origins, and you are the original body. We are the split consciousness, paving the way for your first 8 lives of cultivation, and finally you will merge us to achieve the supreme realm of God, so we are also called Tian Yao, and Tian Yao's 9th life is our way of cultivation. The voice in the heart was not surprised by Hu Baibai's words at all, and explained everything seriously. My previous 8 lives. Even though Hu Baibai had some guesses, he was still slightly surprised to hear this answer. Then will he recognize his master in every life, and will the trajectory of every life be the same? The experiences of the previous 8 lives are all different, but they all have one thing in common. The voice in his heart seemed to see through Hubai's thoughts and chuckled. What is the common point? Hubai said lightly as he followed the fog into the depths. That is, we have no feelings. The voice in his heart was slightly sarcastic. Then he said, I didn't expect that you actually fell in love in this life, and you are still a lowly human being like an ant. Hubai's eyes gradually turned cold after hearing this. You should never have feelings for an inferior human, and you should not be a slave to humans. This is an insult to a supreme demon. The journey of a demon does not require feelings. When our minds are united, I will cut off your feelings for you when we go out. Kill him, kill him. Several different voices suddenly appeared in Hubai's mind, and the cold killing intent was affecting her mind. Shut up, Hubai shouted coldly. A dark killing intent erupted from Hubai. In an instant, the miscellaneous voices disappeared instantly. I am your leader. Even if you are my previous 8 lives, so what? If anyone dares to say the word master again, I, Hubai, would rather lose my cultivation in a lifetime to strangle you. Hubai said in an extremely cold voice. The voices hidden in their hearts were silent, and they sensed an extremely serious attitude from Hubai's words. What Hubai said was right. She was the ultimate leader. After the fusion, all 8 consciousnesses would return to the main consciousness. But Hubai still had the ability to kill one of the consciousnesses. After all, their original intention of splitting out was for the 9th life. Okay, stop talking so much. It's important for Xiaoju to merge with us first. The voice of the first life sounded in his mind. Seeing this, Hubai didn't say anything more. He quickly followed the mist to a stone door in the deepest part of the Falling Sun Valley. The next moment, the heavy stone door slowly opened to both sides. What came into view was a secret room, in which there were 8 graceful phantoms. The 8 phantoms were dressed in gorgeous clothes, and each phantom had a different temperament. Some were gentle and graceful, some were bright and beautiful, and some were murderous. There was a natural charm of fox demons between their eyebrows. But the only thing in common was that they all looked exactly like Hubai, and they were simply carved out of the same appearance. Instantly, everyone's eyes were on Hubai, who still looked like a child. As expected, you will be 2 days late. It will take 10 years to come here, but it is always good to be 1 step ahead. Quote. The first life fox Bai came to her and smiled gently. The remaining 7 lives did not dare to speak because of what fox Bai had just said. What should I do? Hubai was also very surprised when he looked at the 8 phantoms. He could feel the familiarity in the blood even more at a close distance. We will enter your sea of consciousness in order later. You just need to absorb us patiently. The first life said, can I get the ability to resurrect by fusing with you? This is the most important question in Fox Bai's heart. As long as the soul of that person belongs to this world, the great power of the great emperor can directly reach the netherworld and reshape him. The first life Fox Bai said with flashing eyes. At this moment, she also guessed that the master mentioned by Xiaoju might have met with an accident. How long will it take to absorb you all? Quote. Hubai breathed a sigh of relief, and then continued to ask. The master's body is waiting for him in the outside world, so the time must not be too long. Normally, it takes 10 years to absorb 1 life, and 8 lives is 80 years. Quote. The first life Hubai explained with a smile. If you don't count the accumulation of the previous 8 lives, just looking at the 9th life, it takes 80 years to enter the realm of the emperor. What a terrifying number. Since ancient times, this has been almost impossible to do, to enter the great realm of the emperor in just 100 years. Too slow, the master can't wait that long, is there a faster way? Quote. But this is still too long for Hubai. Hearing that it would take 80 years, Hubai frowned and shook his head. The first life Hubai was stunned, she thought she had heard wrong. Then he couldn't help but smile bitterly and said, 80 years is already a very fast time. Quote. Is there no faster way? I can't wait that long. Quote. Hubai frowned. If she really had to wait for 80 years, everything would have changed outside, and Hubai was not particularly confident in Yulingwan. Usually, when Yu Lingwan looked at his master, there seemed to be a strange feeling in his eyes, which made Hu Baibai very unhappy. In the first life, Hu Baibai smiled helplessly and said, "Although I know you are very anxious, we are just your split consciousness after all, and we cannot actively speed up the fusion speed. You are the dominant consciousness. If you want to speed up the fusion speed, you have to rely on yourself." Hearing this, Hu Baibai didn't say anything more. If he wanted to speed up, he had to rely on himself. So he simply said, "Then let's get started." Quote, "The first life Fox Baibai nodded slightly, and when Fox Baibai sat cross-legged among several shadows, he turned into a stream of light and entered Fox Baibai's body. Instantly, the memory of the first life Fox Baibai passed by like a surging torrent. At the same time, the cultivation of Fox Baibai was also rapidly accelerating at this moment, and the terrifying demonic energy bloomed at the bottom of the Falling Sun Valley. At the same time, the top masters on the Silver Stream continent looked in a certain direction as if they had sensed something. Just a few days after Hu Baibai entered the Falling Sun Valley, the sky on the Silver Stream continent also completely changed. There was a lot of commotion about the Sky Demon, and Shengqing Daozong was once again pushed to the forefront. The sect leader Chu Shengqian's secret search for the heavenly demon was exposed, and he even lost 5 people in the Tribulation Realm. This was a big blow to the Shengqing Dao sect. Chu Shengqian acted like this, but the old monsters in the sect directly united and deposed him as the sect leader. Song Yuhuan's actions this time were praised by the sect, and he was in a state of great glory for a while. Shen Shucho, who was the supporter of the Sky Demon, was also brought up, and Feng Yangxi was even more audacious to use taboo secret methods such as stealing the sky and destroying the sky to protect his disciples. This behavior is not the same as the demon clan. Although the person is dead, his disciple Ji Yumo Zuoshu is also wanted by the sect, and this task is being presided over by Song Yuhuan. In addition, various large and small forces throughout the Silver Stream continent began to search for traces of the Sky Demon on a large scale, including the Demon Clan. Everyone wanted to strangle the heavenly demon in its cradle while it was still weak, and seize the rumored heavenly demon's pill. Day and night alternate, the sun and the moon fly by. July in the year 416 of the Yinliu calendar. Shen Shucho was refined by Yu Lingwan using the cultivation method of the goddess palace and became a puppet to accompany Yu Shuiwei for 3 full years. Yu Shuiwei is 6 years old this year. "Daddy, Daddy, look what I caught." By the small lake, Yu Shuiwei ran happily to the man beside her with her bare feet wet. Shen Shucho on the side reached out to catch Yu Shuiwei and said with a smile, "Our Shuiwei is so powerful, she can even catch the fool." Yu Shuiwei proudly raised her muddy little face and said with a smile, "Then my father will reward Shuiwei with a kiss." Shen Shucho gently wiped away the dirt for Yu Shuiwei and gently touched her pink little face. Yu Shuiwei squinted her eyes and enjoyed it, then she got into Shen Shucho's arms with the little tortoise in her hand. But at this moment, a sound that made Yu Shuiwei's body tremble sounded from behind. "Yu Shuiwei, what did you do again?" Yu Lingwan stood behind her with her graceful body, looking at Yu Shuiwei who was soaked with anger. Yu Lingwan suddenly regretted moving to this small lake. At first, she just thought this place was more comfortable. But as Yu Shuiwei grows older, children's naughty nature is clearly revealed, and they are either playing with fire or water. "Dad, please hold Shui Wei tight, I don't want to be hurt by my mother." Yu Shuiwei burrowed deeper into Shen Shucho's arms, burying her little head firmly in her chest and not daring to look back, still holding the little tortoise in her pink little hands. Shen Shucho didn't say a word, and there was always a smile on his spring-like face that didn't seem to mean anything. Well, Yu Lingwan sighed secretly and did not continue to hurt her. Looking at the father and daughter, sometimes Yu Lingwan thought it would be great if Shen Shucho was not a puppet at this moment. Shen Shucho's mission is to accompany Yu Shuiwei and teach her how to read and give her the fatherly love she longs for. During this period, Yu Lingwan was also worried that Hu Baibai would come back, but 3 years later, Hu Baibai was still nowhere to be seen, and she had been to the small courtyard in the forest countless times. Yu Lingwan was a little worried when she never saw Hu Baibai. It wasn't until the last time she went to the Falling Sun Valley that she discovered that there was a demonic energy growing there. At that time, she understood that Hu Baibai was inside. The past 3 years have also brought different feelings to Yu Lingwan. They were like a real family, and she was like Shen Shuchoumingyang's married wife, taking care of the father and daughters 3 meals a day. But Yu Lingwan understood that all of this was just a lie. She gave birth to Yu Shuiwei through a transaction, and used a secret method to refine Shen Shuchou into a soulless puppet. Yu Lingwan didn't know how long this kind of life could last, but she really cherished every day during this time. Even if Hu Baibai finally returns from practice, she will be responsible for it alone. In the western region of Silver Continent, there is a remote village named Changshan Village. The folk customs here are simple, just like a paradise, located in the vast fields. The sun sets in the west, and the dim afterglow forms a picture scroll on the horizon. In the afterglow of the sky, there was a figure flying towards the village at great speed. This scene was discovered by the villagers, who immediately shouted around. "Everyone, come and see, there is an immortal master." As soon as these words came out, many figures suddenly emerged from the houses, all looking towards. Looking at the horizon. How could an immortal master come here? I don't know if it's good or bad. An old man stroked his beard and said with a frown. A woman who was cooking in the house frowned when she heard the villagers' calls from outside the door. Then she wiped the sweat from her forehead with her forearm, and then looked at the white-haired old man sitting on the bench in the main hall and said, "Master, I'll go out and take a look." The old man and the woman were Zuo Shu and Feng Yangxi, who moved to a small village 3 years ago to take care of Feng Yangxi. Zuo Shu tied a coarse cloth apron around her waist, and her dark hair was wrapped up, looking like a woman. She no longer had the agility and brightness she had in the sect. Perhaps the only thing that remained unchanged was her beautiful face, and the years had not left any traces. Zuo Shu's cultivation always remained at the nascent soul realm, and she gradually forgot about cultivation. Now she just wanted to take good care of her master. Feng Yangxi's body also became older, and now he looked worse day by day, with a head full of white hair and a face full of wrinkles. He was completely different from the immortal appearance at the beginning. From the beginning, he was a respected elder of the sect to the sick hunchbacked old man now. This huge gap was like falling from the sky to the ground. Feng Yangxi did not speak. He was hard of hearing and could not hear at all most of the time. Zuo Shu felt sad. She had lost her senior brother, and she was afraid that one day in the future she would lose her master. Zuo Shu resisted the moisture in her eyes, and then walked to the door to open it and wait and see. "Junior sister, I haven't seen you for a long time." Just when Zuo Shu opened the door, a figure fell in front of her. When she saw the face of the person in front of her, Zuo Shu's face suddenly changed. "Why are you surprised to see me?" Song Yuhuan looked at Zuo Shu and said. Zuo Shu said with an unpleasant expression, "How do you know I'm here?" Song Yuhuan smiled and said, "Because I have your life card, I know where you are in the world. You are not welcome here, and I am not your junior sister." Zuo Shu said coldly. Then she was about to close the door, but was blocked by a pair of strong hands. "It's been 3 years, junior sister, don't you want to go back to the sect? Look at you now, you are no longer as glorious as before. Just come back with me, I promise you will be better than before." Zuo Shu said with a cold face, "What I am like now has nothing to do with you, get out." Zuo Shu also knew about Song Yuhuan. If it weren't for him, senior brother wouldn't die, and master wouldn't be like this now. If it weren't for the lack of cultivation, Zuo Shu would have wanted to kill him a long time ago. Now she doesn't want to see Song Yuhuan at all, and she doesn't want to go back to that sect. "Could it be that you are still thinking about him, junior sister?" Song Yuhuan forced his way in regardless, sneering. But as soon as he entered the door, Song Yuhuan was stunned, and a white-haired old man appeared in his sight. Even though Feng Yangxi looked like this now, Song Yuhuan still recognized him at the first time. For a moment, he couldn't believe it. He clearly saw Mei Yan kill Feng Yangxi with her own hands, and now he is still alive. Zuo Shu saw this and quickly stood in front of Feng Yangxi, staring at Song Yuhuan. "Master, you are actually here, ha ha ha, you didn't expect it. You would be reduced to this state now." Song Yuhuan realized at first sight that Feng Yangxi was just an ordinary old man now. The joy in his heart made him laugh. "Shut up, if it weren't for you, master wouldn't be like this." Zuo Shu couldn't listen anymore, and a strong killing intent was revealed in her eyes. What a shitty master, you all favor Shen Shucho, what's so good about him? Song Yuhuan's face suddenly darkened. Master, he has never treated any of us badly. I have liked my senior brother from the beginning. This is my business, but why do you have to do this and make master like this? Zuo Shu could no longer hold back her emotions and roared at Song Yuhuan. Because I just want him dead. Song Yuhuan's face twisted. A terrifying momentum rushed over, and the house and courtyard fell into a storm. Zuo Shu couldn't bear it and fell to the ground in an instant, with a mouthful of blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. I'm not afraid to tell you that I have now transferred to Zanyang Zhenren's hands as an apprentice. This is no better than being under your hands. I bear that you raised me, but what does it matter? If you can't give me good things, there will always be someone who can. Song Yuhuan said gloomily. Feng Yangxi's old body trembled slightly, and a line of old tears slid down his turbid eyes. Zanyang Zhenren. He is also an elder of the Shangqing Dao sect who has reached the realm of transcendence, and is also Feng Yangxi's mortal enemy. There was an irreconcilable hatred between the two. Now is the right time. I originally wanted to bring my junior sister back to the sect, but I didn't expect there would be a surprise. I don't know what kind of situation it will be if I bring you back to Xuanyang Zhenren. I think Master will definitely be happy to see you now. Song Yuhuan laughed sinisterly. Don't even think about it. Zuo Shu's delicate face was furious, and she couldn't help it. She immediately attacked Song Yuhuan. Song Yuhuan has now entered the realm of transcendence, and Zuo Shu, who is still in the nascent soul realm, is no match for him. However, he was defeated in one round, and his powerful strength directly suppressed Zuo Shu's cultivation to the point that he could not move. Do you think I am discussing this with you? Song Yuhuan laughed sinisterly, and then controlled Zuo Shu and Feng Yangxi with his true energy, and flew straight to the horizon. The villagers were left alone, looking at each other in bewilderment. The deadly battle was over, and the deadly battle was over. Wanzangyuan is a dangerous area shrouded in mysterious coldness. There is no sunlight here, only endless darkness and coldness, and it is the edge of the life-forbidden zone. This place is located on the edge of the Silver Flow continent. It is a dangerous place that the sect cannot control and touch. It has been eroded by the power of extreme yin for many years and exudes waves of ominous power. In this desperate land, the power of extreme yin spreads like a plague, eroding all living things. The cultivators who dare to set foot here are either swallowed by darkness or become twisted under the influence of extreme yin. And there is a third type of people, that is, those who can control this power of extreme yin and turn it for their own use. Such people are often the most terrifying. The deepest part of Wanzangyuan. Ha, woo, a sharp whistle like a ghost's cry blew past. Beside a pile of countless bones, a young man in black sat upright. The young man exuded a chill, as if he was shrouded in an invisible chill, and as if he was a ferocious beast still sleeping. The next moment, the young man in black suddenly opened his eyes, as if a flash of lightning broke through the darkness, and a terrifying aura instantly spread over his body. The surrounding air seemed to be shocked by this aura, forming an invisible pressure that spread to the surroundings. As this aura bloomed, a whirlwind appeared around the young man, his long white hair flew, his clothes rustled, and the whole person exuded a biting chill. It's been 7 years, Master, junior sister, are you all right? Ji Yu Mo murmured. Since he parted ways with a few people 10 years ago, Ji Yu Mo chose to come here to train. The place he chose at that time was just the outskirts of Wanzangyuan. There is no extremely yin power there, but there are all kinds of evil spirits lurking there all year round. In the first 3 years after arriving here, Ji Yu Mo has been immersed in endless killings. Whether it is with the human race or the demon race, his cultivation has been rising rapidly. But 3 years later, people from Shangqing Dao sect came, and the leader was his second junior brother Song Yuhuan. And brought Ji Yu Mo a thunderbolt of news that his master and junior sister were both captured. When he heard the news again, Ji Yu Mo was undoubtedly angry. This forced him to lose all his reason and kill Song Yuhuan on the spot. However, he did not kill him, but was seriously injured by the elders of the sect he brought with him, and finally hid in the depths of Wanzangyuan with his dying body. It was the mission in his heart to avenge his junior brother and master that allowed Ji Yu Mo to survive with a strong belief. Now another 7 years have passed. Ji Mo absorbs the extremely yin power here every day, and his strength has improved by leaps and bounds. In a short time, he has already stepped into the realm of tribulation. Although he has gained such a powerful strength, Ji Mo has been eroded by the extremely yin power for many years. Now his lifespan is only 10 years, and this is without action. Ji Mo also knows that he will not live long, and he just wants to take this time to bring his master and junior sister out of Shengqing Dao sect. Ji Mu doesn't know whether his master and junior sister are dead or alive now. He also knows that this trip to Dao sect is more dangerous than Wanzhangyuan. Even if there is a 100% chance of survival, Ji Mo must go. This is his responsibility as the eldest brother in this family. The master's upbringing and the family love of his junior sisters and brothers all drive Ji Mo. Ji Mo's eyes are as cold as ice, and he said in a murderous tone, "Song Yuhuan, you are a borer in this family, I will make you regret living in this world." After speaking, Ji Mo jumped up and appeared at the entrance of Wanzhangyuan in an instant like a ghost in the dark. At the moment when Ji Mo appeared, an extremely cold storm swept around. A pair of eyes hidden in the dark were extremely horrified. There were many shadows of the sect among them, and there were also figures from the periphery. Ji Mo had a murderous intention in his heart, and he raised his hand and punched out. Suddenly, a fist wind wrapped in extremely yin power spread between heaven and earth, and the figure hidden in the dark was annihilated by this punch. Ji Mo did not hesitate, and his figure instantly crossed thousands of miles and rushed straight to Shengqing Dao sect. At this moment, Shengqing Dao sect was in a dark and humid prison. There was a woman locked up by iron chains, with bruises all over her body, and dark bloodstains were visible everywhere. The eyes under the disheveled hair were like a pool of dead water without a trace of fluctuation, and there was only a weak breath between the nose, as if he would lose his life in the next second. Not far in front of the woman, there was also a white-haired old man who was locked up. Unlike the woman who still had a weak breath, the white-haired old man's body was stiff. Incomparable, there is no life at all. The two are Zuo Shu and Feng Yangxi who were captured by Song Yuhuan 7 years ago. After being captured and brought back to Shengqing Dao sect, Feng Yangxi suffered all kinds of torture and insults. Thinking of the elders of the tribulation realm who were extremely glorious in the sect, he became a prisoner and suffered all kinds of inhuman torture. Feng Yangxi, who had already lost his cultivation, could not bear such torture. One night just 1 year later, he completely lost his life. At this moment, Zuo Shu's string on the verge of collapse also broke. Since then, one has become a madman, and the other has been turned into an incorruptible stiff corpse by Song Yuhuan's secret method, and is still placed in front of Zuo Shu every day to stimulate her nerves. Thump thump thump. At this moment, footsteps were heard outside the cell, and then the iron door was opened, and a figure walked in and squatted in front of Zuo Shu. One hand tightly grasped the bloody neck and said, "How is it, my good junior sister, how does it taste?" Song Yuhuan said with a sinister smile. After these words came out, Zuo Shu, who had been motionless, immediately trembled wildly, and suddenly raised her head, and her eyes, like dead water, were immediately filled with boundless blood. Song Yuhuan smiled contemptuously, not caring about Zuo Shu's eyes at all, and said, "Don't look at me like that, my good junior sister, what can you do to me?" Kill you, I want to kill you." Zuo Shu screamed helplessly and hoarsely. Wa la la. As the body shook, the sound of the iron chain was pulled. "Kill me, do you have the ability to do that?" Song Yuhuan sneered. "Feng Yangxi, the old man, has been dead for a long time. Do you think he can come back to life to kill me?" Song Yuhuan kicked Feng Yangxi's stiff body and sneered. The anger in Zuo Shu's heart was burning like a sea of fire. She had no ability to resist now. Her cultivation was abolished, her tendons were cut off, and she was tortured in this dark cell every day. After a moment, Zuo Shu said with a face full of resentment, "There is a person who can kill you." "Ridiculous, who in this world can kill me?" Song Yuhuan is now a celebrity in Shengqing Dao sect, and his cultivation has entered the realm of transformation. She is the person you are afraid of in your heart. Zuo Shu's cold and resentful tone fell into Song Yuhuan's ears. Song Yuhuan, who was originally calm and indifferent, trembled slightly in his heart, and a figure gradually emerged again. That was Hu Baibai, whom Song Yuhuan wanted to kill 13 years ago. At that time, the terrifying demonic energy rushed straight into his heart, causing a deep fear. Being targeted by a celestial demon, Song Yuhuan searched for the other party like crazy a few years ago, but Hu Baibai seemed to have evaporated from the face of the earth and could not be found. He was lucky enough to think that the other party died somewhere, but a few years ago, a burst of demonic energy suddenly emerged in the meteoric valley, attracting the investigation of all parties, and the conclusion made Song Yuhuan terrified. The Hu Baibai he wanted to find was among them, and was developing at a very fast speed. Sooner or later, he would return to the world. You are scared, ha ha ha. Zuo Shu saw Song Yuhuan's face change slightly, and laughed at him with resentment. Do you think she can kill me? Let me tell you that several old monsters in the Mahayana realm have joined forces to set up a sealing barrier in the meteoric valley. She can't get out without hundreds of years. Song Yuhuan was immediately angry and choked Zuo Shu's throat with force in his hand, and his face instantly turned red. And you are just my prisoner now. I can kill you at any time. As a senior brother, I have given you a chance, but you just can't let go of your senior brother. Song Yuhuan's face twisted together. I won't kill you. I will only torture you little by little, and let you see if I will die when I fall to the ground. Song Yuhuan let go of his hand and walked out of the cell with a sinister smile. 2 lines of blood and tears silently left in Zuo Shu's bloodshot eyes. Her heart had died long ago. Died in the ruins 10 years ago. Died in the silent night 6 years ago. Zuo Shu suffered from the hatred of the soul and the pain of the body every day. The string of heart had collapsed long ago, and now only a body was left. The dead body was buried in the grave. Song Yuhuan walked out of the cell, still feeling a little scared. After all, Hu Baibai was a celestial demon, and Song Yuhuan had also known the horror of celestial demons. This kind of demon practiced very quickly, and could become a terrifying existence in just 100 years. But none of the celestial demons in the history of Yinliu continent survived, and they were all suppressed by human cultivators. This time must be no exception, and the cooperation of the old monsters from various sects also gave Song Yuhuan a reassurance. Dong dong dong. At this moment, the sound of bells rang in Song Yuhuan's ears, echoing throughout the Shengqing Dao sect. Song Yuhuan's face changed slightly. The sound of the bell meant that someone was attacking Shengqing Dao sect. Who would be so bold as to attack Dao sect? Song Yuhuan guessed in his heart. At this time, most of the strong men in Shengqing Dao sect were not inside. Song Yuhuan, come out and die. The next moment, a loud shout broke through the clouds and echoed between heaven and earth. Hearing this familiar voice again, Song Yuhuan was stunned at first, and then his heart was shaken hard, and his eyes revealed incredibleness. At this moment, he understood who the visitor was. This was his senior brother Ji Yu Mo. But wasn't Ji Yu Mo defeated and thrown into the depths of Wanzhengyuan? How could he come out alive from there? Song Yuhuan frowned. There was not much fear on his face, but he was puzzled that Ji Yu Mo could come out of the depths of Wanzhengyuan alive. Since he could defeat Ji Yu Mo the first time, he could defeat his senior brother the second time. It was just right that he didn't die, just in time to imprison Ji Yu Mo. Song Yuhuan felt secretly happy when he thought that he would be able to step on this powerful senior brother under his feet in a while. How dare you? This is not a place for you to make trouble. At this moment, another roar came to greet him. Song Yuhuan's face suddenly brightened, because it was the voice of his master Zan Yang Zhenren. Without stopping, Song Yuhuan quickly rushed towards the direction of the voice. Soon, 2 figures appeared in Song Yuhuan's field of vision. The one with black clothes and white hair stood in the sky, and his deep eyes revealed a terrifying murderous intent. A cold and powerful aura covered the sky like a cold prison. Song Yuhuan's body trembled slightly, and there was a trace of fear in the depths of his pupils. He felt a terrifying sense of oppression from Ji Yu Mo, and this powerful momentum was comparable to that of Zan Yang Zhenren. Song Yuhuan quietly swallowed a sip of saliva, and his heart was surging like waves. How could his senior brother become so powerful now? It was incredible for Song Yuhuan that he could come out alive from the depths of the 10,000 burials abyss. Now he could even compete with Zan Yang Zhenren in the tribulation realm in terms of momentum. This was a severe shock to Song Yuhuan. Who are you? Zan Yang Zhenren on the sky scolded. The one who wants your life. Ji Yu-mo said coldly. Zanyang Zhenren laughed loudly upon hearing this. How dare you? You want to kill me? Master, be careful. He is Ji Yu-mo, the eldest disciple of Feng Yangxi. Song Yuhuan on the ground reminded loudly. Oh. Hearing this, Zanyang Zhenren narrowed his eyes and said, so you are the eldest disciple of Feng Yangxi's broken-backed old dog. It seems that you are here to follow in the footsteps of that old dog. Ji Yu-mo also discovered Song Yuhuan on the ground. The murderous intent around him condensed into an extremely gloomy storm, and a cold light burst out in his eyes. Song Yuhuan was trembling at this look, and the blood in his body seemed to freeze at this moment. Song Yuhuan, you deserve to die. Ji Yu-mo shouted coldly. Seeing Song Yuhuan again, the murderous intent in his heart was almost condensed into substance. The next moment, Song Yuhuan's pupils suddenly shrank, and he saw a terrifying fist wind from the sky coming towards him. The fist wind whistled past, bringing up the surrounding air to form a powerful cyclone, as if to tear him apart. This terrifying fist force made Song Yuhuan unable to move, his pupils trembled and fear crawled all over his body. At this critical moment of death, Zanyang Zhenren stood in front and punched him as well. Boom! A deafening roar suddenly broke out in the air, and the ground under his feet was instantly shattered by the force. How dare you! You killed my disciple in front of me. You really don't take me seriously. Zanyang Zhenren's face changed slightly when he took the punch, and one of his arms was numb from the shock. Song Yuhuan, who had walked on the edge of death, woke up in shock. Seeing Zanyang Zhenren, he couldn't help but get angry. This is not my fault at all. It's all your fault. Now that Feng Yangxi is dead, nothing can be changed. Quote, boom. This sentence was like a thunderbolt that struck Ji Yu-mo's heart. What did you say? Ji Yu-mo's body trembled slightly, and he said in a low voice. Feng Yangxi is dead, and so are you. You can't change anything about my former senior brother. Song Yuhuan shouted happily. Master is dead, master is dead. Ji Yu-mo muttered to himself, sadness surged in his eyes, and 2 lines of tears gradually slid down. Even though Ji Yu-mo had a bad guess in his heart, it was another feeling to hear it with his own ears. Ah! Ji Yu-mo raised his head and howled, and his grief resounded through the sky. Seeing Ji Yu-mo like this, Song Yuhuan felt even more relieved. But the next second, a voice that seemed to crawl out of hell sounded in his ears. Master is dead, you go down and repent. Quote, Ji Yu-mo raised his murderous eyes, his black robe fluttering in the wind, and sentenced Song Yuhuan to death in his words. How dare you? The only person who will die today is you. Zanyang Zhenren saw that Ji Yu-mo had been ignoring him, and he was immediately furious. Well, I'll send you, the old dog, to hell first. Ji Yu-mo was like a demon god, exuding a terrifying aura. Without saying anything more, he would prove everything with practical actions. In an instant, Ji Yu-mo condensed his fist power, and the extremely yin power in his body rushed wildly. The sky suddenly changed color, and the terrifying pressure fell like an unreachable mountain. Zanyang Zhenren's face changed drastically. He felt the attack from this punch that was enough to kill him. The next moment, this punch fell from the sky. This punch contained the piercing extremely yin power. This punch contained the blood-like forest in Ji Yu-mo's heart. The killing intent. This punch contained the tearing grief from the bottom of his heart. This punch seemed to pierce the heaven and earth, and it was like a meteorite, carrying the force of thunder and lightning. The flowing time seemed to stop at this moment, and the surrounding air was distorted under the influence of this punch. Master Xuanyang was extremely frightened, and there was an intuition in his heart telling him he couldn't take this punch, and he would die if he took it. Without hesitation, under the threat of death, Master Xuanyang decisively chose to avoid it. However, this punch had already blocked the aura around Master Xuanyang. Seeing that he couldn't escape, Zanyang Zhenren gritted his teeth and had to use his trump card to try to resist. But it was too late. Boom! At the moment of collision, Zanyang Zhenren's body was blasted into a blood mist by the terrifying power of this punch. A great man in the tribulation realm died on the spot without any chance of life. When Ji Yu-mo threw this punch, he felt extremely weak in his body. If he wanted to kill Song Yuhuan and save his junior sister, he had to attack without reservation. so he used almost most of his extremely yin power in this punch. The blood mixed with the minced meat poured all over the sky. Above Song Yuhuan's head, a pungent smell of blood filled the air. Song Yuhuan stood there in a daze, not believing what was happening before his eyes. It seemed like all this was an illusion. Zanyang Zhenren, who was in the tribulation realm, was killed by a single punch. But the thick smell of blood that filled his nose and the broken meat on the ground were all shocking Song Yuhuan, forcing him to believe the truth of all this. Looking at Ji Yumo walking towards him, Song Yuhuan's heart could no longer be described as fear, it was a trembling in the depths of his soul. At this moment, Ji Yumo seemed to have turned into the omnipotent senior brother again. The next moment, Song Yuhuan felt a pain in his chest, and when he looked down, he saw a hand inserted into his chest and holding his rapidly beating heart, which would burst with just a little force. "Brother, I am your junior brother, please don't kill me, I was wrong, I was wrong." Quote. Facing Ji Yumo's eyes that penetrated the depths of his soul, and then feeling the shroud of death, Song Yuhuan was instantly scared and burst into tears on the spot. "So, you also have a heart." Feeling the heart beating in his palm, Ji Yumo lowered his eyes and said softly, "Brother, don't kill me. I was really wrong." Song Yuhuan was still begging for mercy. "But people like you don't deserve to have a heart," Ji Yumo said coldly, and suddenly pulled the heart out of his flesh and blood. Looking at the bright red heart in his palm, he suddenly exerted force to crush it. Song Yuhuan's body slowly fell backwards, and there was still lingering fear in his eyes. He did not die at Hu Baibai's hands, but at Ji Yumo's hands. The dead body was buried, and the dead body was buried. Ji Yumo looked at Song Yuhuan's body with disgust. He just felt that it was too easy for him to die like this. But now he was in Shangqing Dao sect, and the most urgent thing was to bring his junior sister out. Ji Yumo's figure instantly turned into a stream of light and rushed into the prison. The guard of the prison was an old man in the state of transformation. He could not pose any danger to Ji Yumo and could kill him at will. Ji Yumo was very uneasy. He didn't know how his junior sister was doing now. But when he walked to the cell and saw the horrible scene inside, he trembled deeply in his heart. Zuo Shu was locked tightly by 4 iron chains, with bloody scars all over her body, and she was tortured to the point of not looking like a human being. She was completely different from the lively and cheerful little junior sister in his memory. If she hadn't had a faint breath, she would have been no different from a dead person. There was a familiar and old figure beside her, with no signs of life coming from her. The tears in Ji Yumo's eyes blurred his vision for a moment, and his lips trembled as he wanted to say something. He angrily smashed the iron door open and walked inside in a panic. Hearing footsteps, Zuo Shu thought it was Song Yuhuan who came back, but the sound made her look up suddenly. "Master, junior sister." Ji Yumo trembled. "Senior brother." Zuo Shu looked at the familiar senior brother in front of her with dim eyes, and said hoarsely. Ji Yumo hurried forward to break all the chains, and Zuo Shu's body instantly collapsed without restraints. Ji Yumo caught her and checked her injuries immediately, but found that Zuo Shu's meridians were damaged, her Dantian purple palace was destroyed, and her cultivation had dissipated. There was only another true qi in her body, and Ji Yumo guessed without thinking that this must be Song Yuhuan's masterpiece. He injected true qi every day to prevent Zuo Shu from dying, so that he could torture her. Ji Yumo was so angry that he wanted to kill Song Yuhuan 1,000 times. Zuo Shu was now like a sad and beautiful flower, about to wither under the scorching sun. Ji Yumo frantically transferred true qi into her body, but was stopped by Zuo Shu. "Brother, don't waste true qi, take me and master away from here first," Zuo Shu said weakly, with no hope on her dead face. "Brother is late," Ji Yumo whispered. Ji Yumo also knew that he was still here, and it was not convenient to say too much, so he had to leave here first. He immediately took Zuo Shu and Feng Yangxi with him and rushed out of the cell where he had been imprisoned for several years. Taking a last look at Shangqing Dao sect, Ji Yumo's eyes were endlessly cold. This matter would not end here, and he would still come back. Not long after Ji Yumo left, 2 figures, one big and one small, landed in Shangqing Dao sect. One of them was like a fairy and an iceberg, and the other was a teenage girl. Mei Yan frowned slightly when she arrived here. There were still aftermaths of the battle. Now the main forces of these major sects are all in the Meteoric Valley to set up a barrier to seal the Sky Demon. Who would take advantage of this gap to come to Shangqing Dao sect to kill people? Mei Yan randomly found a disciple to understand the situation here. When she learned that the murderer was Feng Yangxi's eldest disciple. A pair of clear eyes, with a strange look flowing, I don't know what he was thinking. Then he said softly in a voice that only he could hear, I didn't expect that I was a step late. Here, Ji Yu Mo took Zuo Shu and Feng Yangxi to stay on a small hill. Zuo Shu's condition is very bad now, and her injuries must be repaired as soon as possible. When Ji Yu Mo was about to continue to pass on his true energy to Zuo Shu, he was rejected again. Brother, don't worry about Zuo Shu. I'm already very tired. I want to rest. Zuo Shu's body trembled slightly, like a leaf in the wind, swaying. No, brother will not let you die. Ji Yu Mo's heart trembled. How could he not know what Zuo Shu meant, but he didn't want to lose another family member. The little junior brother who he regarded as a family member fell down. Feng Yangxi, who gave him the grace of raising him, was no longer in the world, and now even Zuo Shu, the last family member, was going to follow in his footsteps. Brother, listen to me, this family has broken up. I'm really tired. In the last moments of my life, I want to go to that little bamboo forest for the last time. Can you take me there? Zuo Shu's weak tone was filled with a hint of pleading, and a faint glimmer of light was faintly visible in the depths of her eyes that were originally bleak and dead. Ji Yu Mo's heart ached, as if an invisible hand was grasping his heart tightly. He closed his eyes tightly, but the tears did not flow. Sliding down under control, every tear seemed like a memory. Please, senior brother, take Zuo Shu with you. Zuo Shu begged. She didn't even have the strength to move a finger now, like a pile of dead mud. Okay, senior brother will take you. After a while, Ji Yu Mo opened his eyes, filled with grief. Just as he was about to leave, two figures fell from the sky not far in front of Ji Yu Mo. Ji Yu Mo's hair stood on end, and he protected Zuo Shu behind him as if he was facing a great enemy. Those eyes were fixed on the cold woman not far away, and Ji Yu Mo's heart was alarmed. Although he had never seen this person, his intuition told him that this woman was very powerful. Mei Yan ignored Ji Yu Mo, who was facing a great enemy, and looked at Feng Yangxi behind him with those cold eyes. For a while, the situation was deadlocked, and no one spoke first. The little girl hiding behind Mei Yan tilted her head curiously and looked at Ji Yu Mo and Zuo Shu. For some reason, when Zuo Shu and the little girl met eyes, an extremely familiar feeling arose in her heart. Zuo Shu seemed to see the shadow of a person in the bright eyes of the little girl. A moment later, alas, why do you have to do this? Mei Yan sighed softly. This sentence was said to Feng Yangxi, but Feng Yangxi could no longer hear it now. Who are you? Ji Yu Mo said coldly, with murderous intent all over his body, ready to attack at any time. You must be Ji Yu Mo, Feng Yangxi's eldest disciple. Mei Yan looked at Ji Yu Mo and said. Ji Yu Mo did not speak, still staring at her coldly. Mei Yan didn't care about Ji Yu Mo's murderous intent and praised him slightly. You can actually turn Wan Zhengyuan's extremely yin power back into your own power. Feng Yangxi's apprentice is very good. Ji Yu Mo was shocked. This woman could see through the extremely yin power in his body at a glance. His face became even gloomier, which meant that this person's strength was more terrifying than he imagined. Perhaps the only point in Ji Yu Mo's favor was that he did not feel the murderous intent from this woman. Who are you? Ji Yu Mo asked for the second time. Your master and I have known each other for 100 years. You don't have to be so wary of me. If I want to kill you, you won't survive for a breath. Mei Yan smiled lightly. Ji Yu Mo remained silent. He knew that what the woman said was true. He only felt deeply powerless in front of this person. I don't want to get involved in your affairs with Shangqing Dao sect. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't even be here. Now give me your master's body. Whatever you do in the future has nothing to do with me. Mei Yan gently pinched the tender and cute face of the little girl beside her. Master, you are so annoying to pinch my face again. The little girl puffed her cheeks and acted coquettishly. Mei Yan smiled slightly, and then continued to Ji Yu Mo, I won't do anything to your master's body. You don't have the right to choose. Then please help the senior to take care of the master's body. Gu Mo will take it back sooner or later. Gu Mo bowed his head. Face such a powerful Mei Yan, Gu Mo had no choice. After that, Gu Mo knelt down to Feng Yangxi with a plop and kowtowed several times. Mei Yan did not stop him. Finally, she took Feng Yangxi's body back. She didn't plan to say anything else. She took the little girl beside her and flew away. Master, who is he? The little girl asked in confusion. He is your master. Mei Yan smiled slightly. Master. The little girl thought in her heart. Then her bright eyes lit up and she said, that means he is my father's master. Shui Wei is really smart. Mei Yan touched her little head lovingly. It's a pity that your father is just a puppet. Mei Yan said in her heart. But she didn't tell Yu Shuiwei the truth. Last year, Yu Shuiwei was sent to Xuanqing sect by Yu Lingwan. As soon as she entered the sect, Mei Yan discovered her terrifying talent. Mei Yan had never seen such talent before, and she immediately thought of accepting her as a disciple. Of course, Mei Yan would not rashly accept a disciple whose origin was unknown. She immediately started to deduce her life experience, but finally found that this little girl was the result of the combination of Feng Yangxi's third disciple and a disciple from the Kainu Palace. Afterwards, Mei Yan found Yu Lingwan's location, and discovered that Feng Yangxi's third disciple was the person he would rather launch the heaven-stealing extermination to protect, and was also the person who supported the heavenly demon, Shen Shuqiu. However, when he saw Shen Shuqiu, the other party was already a puppet. Mei Yan had never accepted a disciple in 100 years, but he didn't expect that the first disciple he accepted now would be the offspring of Feng Yangxi's disciple. For a moment, Mei Yan's mood was complicated. Was it fate or other factors? It was because of Yu Shuiwei that Mei Yan decided to bring Feng Yangxi out of Shengqing Dao sect. This was also a kind of explanation. After Mei Yan left, Zuo Shu was still staring at her in a daze. Junior sister, what's wrong with you? It wasn't until Gu Mo's voice sounded in her ears that Zuo Shu retracted her gaze and said, "It's okay, please take me away, senior brother." Gu Mo suppressed the sadness in his heart and quickly went forward under the guidance of Zuo Shu. One day later, Gu Mo took Zuo Shu to the familiar bamboo forest and pushed open the closed door. Looking at the messy small courtyard, Zuo Shu felt infinite sadness in her heart. Then, with Gu Mo's cleaning, the courtyard returned to its clean appearance. "Senior brother, can you do me another favor?" Zuo Shu said with difficulty. The vitality in her body was constantly fading. It took her a lot of effort to say a word now. "You say." Gu Mo nodded. "Can you make a rocking chair for me? Just put it over there. I want to lie on it." This is also Zuo Shu's last wish now. She just wants to lie next to Shen Shuqiu at the last moment of her life. Gu Mo didn't say anything. He easily made a rocking chair for Zuo Shu, holding back the tears in his eyes. According to her idea, he put it next to another rocking chair that already existed, and then gently placed Zuo Shu on it. "Brother, I said I would come back again." Lying on the rocking chair, Zuo Shu turned her head and looked to the side, with a lot of thoughts in her mind. At this moment, the long river of time flowed backwards, as if she had returned to the bamboo forest covered with heavy snow again. The Zuo Shu who was drowned in the wind and snow, had a resolute face on her thin and lonely figure. The Zuo Shu who vowed to save Shen Shuqiu. The Zuo Shu whose heart was filled with Shen Shuqiu. Now, she is dying and has returned to this bamboo forest courtyard again. Zuo Shu lies quietly on the rocking chair, like a sleeping painting. Her figure seems so weak, as if she is crushed by an invisible gravity. Her closed eyes reveal her deep fatigue and sadness. 2 lines of tears quietly slide down the corners of her eyes, her lips tremble slightly, she wants to say something, but no sound comes out after exhausting her remaining strength. For a while, the whole courtyard is filled with a quiet and heartbreaking atmosphere. At the end of her life, Zuo Shu seemed to see Shen Shuqiu's gentle face in her peripheral vision. The last belief drove her back here again, accompanied by the breeze, lifting the ends of her hair covering her face, revealing a gray face and a sad smile at the corner of her mouth. The old man was very angry. Feeling that Zuo Shu was out of breath, Gu Mo's body trembled constantly, and the sadness in his heart was almost unable to be suppressed and overflowed. "Junior sister, you can go with peace of mind." I will leave this revenge to my senior brother. Tears were streaming down Ji Yumo's resolute face. He wanted to vent his emotions and roar, but he didn't want to disturb Zuo Shu's peace. In their family, only Ji Yumo was left to support it. Ji Yumo didn't leave now. He quietly stayed here with Zuo Shu for a month. Before leaving, he built a barrier here with powerful strength, and it was impossible for those who were not as strong as him to spy on it. After taking a final look at this place, Ji Yumo resolutely stepped into the air and left. He wanted to pour out all the anger in his heart on Shangqing Dao sect. Since then, Shangqing Dao sect has had another powerful practitioner hiding in the dark. In just a few months, no less than dozens of elders died at Ji Yumo's hands. Such behavior also angered the high-level officials of Shangqing Dao sect, and they vowed to kill Ji Yumo. Many strong men were dispatched to surround Ji Yumo, wanting to strangle him to show the world. But Ji Yumo relied on his strong resilience to kill a bloody path. Then in every killing, Ji Yumo's strength accelerated by leaps and bounds, but what came at any time was the rapid passage of life. This is the disadvantage of relying on the power of extreme yin to become stronger, but for Ji Yumo, he no longer has any way out. Even though Ji Yumo knew that it would be difficult to uproot Shangqing Dao sect with his own strength, he had to do it. Spring goes and autumn comes, time passes quickly. The struggle between Ji Yumo and Shangqing Dao sect has been going on for 5 years in the blink of an eye. Ji Yumo, you can't run away. In the vast sky, 2 figures rushed past one after another like meteors. Chu Shengchun shouted at Ji Yumo. Old pig dog. Ji Yumo was covered in wounds at this time, and the blood-red blood dyed his black robe red, making him look embarrassed, but he still responded viciously. You dare to be stubborn when you are about to die. Today I will send you to reunite with your master. Chu Shengchun sneered. With his Mahayana cultivation to deal with the tribulation realm, this is a crushing situation. Seeing the breath behind him getting closer and closer, Ji Yumo felt sad. He had encountered such situations in the past few years, but he relied on his powerful strength to kill them. If you often walk by the river, you will get your feet wet. Today, he was ambushed while trying to kill an elder. In just one round, Chu Shengchun seriously injured him. Now his cultivation is still a long way from the Mahayana realm. Ji Yumo knew that if he didn't get rid of Chu Shengchun and find a place to heal his wounds, he might die today. At this moment, a fatal crisis came from above his head, and a giant palm fell from the sky. Boom! At this moment, Ji Yumo's broken body was hit by the terrifying force like thunder. Ji Yumo fell like a kite with a broken string, hitting the ground heavily with a loud noise. The terrifying force directly smashed a deep pit around, and dust flew in an instant, and the surrounding air was stirred up. Then Chu Shengchun's figure slowly fell down, and stepped hard on Ji Yumo's chest. Ji Yumo, my boy, today is the day you die. Chu Shengchun said happily. Ji Yumo has killed many people from Shangqing Dao sect in the past few years, which has caused him a lot of trouble. Today, he finally caught him. Hee, old pig dog, I just hate that I don't have enough time. If God gives me more time, I will definitely behead you. Even though Ji Yumo's whole body was smashed to pieces by the huge force, his face was still as cold as the cold night. When Ji Yumo decided to challenge Shangqing Dao sect, he expected that one day he would be like this. Ji Yumo was not afraid of death, he just hated that he could not kill Chu Shengchun, the old dog, before he died. However, the extreme yin power only left him a short 10 years, and even though Ji Yumo killed a lot, he still could not take that step. What's the point of saying this now? You were originally a genius disciple of my sect, but you insisted on standing on the same line with your master. Chu Shengchun sneered, and exerted force with his toes, instantly crushing Ji Yumo's chest. Bones and flesh came out of the torn chest. Ji Yumo's face was pale and bloodless, sweat was pouring down his forehead, and the severe pain almost made him faint. His eyelids gradually became heavy. It seemed as if it would fall down in the next second. Life seemed to be in a countdown at this moment, and Ji Yumo's vision became blurred. At this moment, his thoughts seemed to have returned to the beginning, like a revolving lantern, with familiar faces flashing in front of him. The kind Feng Yangxi, the helpful Song Yuhuan, the speechless Shen Shucho, the lively and lovely Zuo Shu, and the protective nature of him. They were obviously a family, but now the family was completely broken up. Ji Yumo's idea of following Feng Yangxi was an idea. He never cared about anything else. All he cared about was this family and every family member. In the end, he still failed to fulfill his long-cherished wish and failed to kill Chu Shengchun. Looking at Chu Shengchun, who was so close, Ji Yumo smiled unwillingly. What a pity for such a genius. Chu Shengchun clicked his tongue. Then it was time to send him off on his last journey. At this moment, a terrifying demonic aura suddenly hit his face. Chu Shengchun was shocked, and quickly looked around, only to find that he had followed Ji Yumo to the Falling Sun Valley. Feeling the demonic energy that was almost rushing out of the valley, Chu Shengchun's face turned extremely ugly. But he didn't leave either. He and all the great powers had set up a barrier here, and it wouldn't take hundreds of years to get out. Chu Shengchun just breathed a sigh of relief and was about to continue his attack. There was a click. Suddenly there was the sound of something breaking in my ears. Immediately afterwards, in the Falling Sun Valley, a powerful demonic energy spurted out like a raging wave. This demonic energy spread quickly, like a thick dark cloud, covering the entire sky. The demonic aura is filled with the aura of decay and evil, exuding bursts of chill like a desolate cold night. As a large amount of turbid demonic energy emerged, the surrounding air became solemn and oppressive. A dead silence filled the Valley of the Fallen Sun, with only the demonic energy constantly rolling and twisting. This scene seemed like a natural disaster coming, surrounded by the aura that destroyed all living things. Chu Shengchun, who had breathed a sigh of relief just now, completely changed his face at this moment, and the fear in his heart instantly filled him. For a moment, an incredible idea rang in my mind. The barrier was broken, and the demon was born. Chu Shengchun swallowed deeply, his body trembling violently with fear. Under the illumination of this demonic aura, he was like an ant, and he was almost about to collapse under the terrifying pressure. His cultivation was turbulent and seemed to be about to fall apart. Run. This was Chu Shengchun's only thought. Run immediately and tell everyone about the heavenly demon here. He immediately ignored Ji Yumo, who was still alive and dead on the ground, turned around and galloped towards the horizon with all his strength. The moment he escaped, a terrifying giant hand transformed from demonic energy came out of the Falling Sun Valley. With lightning speed, it broke through the sky and flew away. Chu Shengchun's old face was panicked, and his mind was filled with great fear. No matter how fast he was, he could not escape the capture of the giant hand. No. Chu Shengchun's pupils dilated, and the next moment a giant hand trapped him tightly and dragged him back to the starting point. In Chu Shengchun's fearful gaze, a tall woman gradually emerged from the demonic aura. Behind the woman, 9 tails soar into the sky like pillars of heaven. With just one look at those indifferent, world-weary eyes, Chu Shengchun fell into a sea of purgatory fire. The scorching hot breath made his soul tremble, and then a force directly pulled Chu Shengchun's soul away. The sea of fire opened its bloody mouth and swallowed up his soul. This kind of pain was better than any punishment in the world, and he didn't even have a chance to beg for mercy. The devoured souls did not dissipate, but continued to suffer endless torture. The soulless body was instantly crushed into bloody dregs by giant hands and thrown away. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.